This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Streets of Detroit, the Classic Indycar Series will head to the vast greenland of Iowa. 2 weeks ago, drivers struggled with the Belle Isle street circuit, but today it is a different challenge. A short, high-speed oval measuring less than a mile in length and 250 laps await the field. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 7 of the 2019 Logykal Classic Indycar Series, the Lionheart Iowa 250. Jack Stiles and Randy Jenworth will be bringing you all of the action today live on the iRacing Esports Network. And as qualifying is underway and the drivers take to the track on a hot day like today, Randy, grip is going to be a luxury.
And isn't that just been a theme all season, that these guys are going to be struggling with grip around the racetracks? I don't think we've seen a cool weather session yet for all of these guys. They had to struggle with it around Belle Isle. Iowa's going to be maybe a little easier as it's an oval, but this is a very fast and very bumpy short oval that this series has struggled with in the past.
Well, there's only one driver who can show you around the Iowa circuit. Let's ride a lap on board with Josh Baird.
Iowa for your 2019 Logykal Classic Indycar Series race. This is a fast 7/8 mile track which will allow us to keep our foot down on the gas pedal throughout the lap. Heading into the 12-degree bank turn 1 and 2, we will have to get low and watch out for the tunnel bump that will end many people's night as it makes the car loose. Heading into turn 3, we want to get as low as possible while avoiding the apron because it will send the car into a spin if touched. Going down the front stretch, we will have to get up along the wall to keep our momentum going for the next turn. This has been an 18-second lap around Iowa Speedway. I hope you enjoy the race.
The Iowa Indy 250 is brought to you by the Lionheart Racing Series. The Lionheart Racing Series was founded on the 1st of July 2014 and is the premier fixed IndyCar and Lotus 79 league on iRacing. Competition, commitment and excitement, that is what the Lionheart Series is more all about. For more information, head yourselves over to lionheartracingseries.com. You can follow the Lionheart IndyCar Series on Wednesdays and the Lionheart Retro Series on Thursdays, all here live on the iRacing Esports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iowa Speedway. And of course, not only is this series brought to you by Lionheart, but as well by Logykal Innovative Engineering. They, of course, make brilliant products for the sim racing world, motion platforms. Give them a search on the old Google and you can find out what they are all about. Other partners will be joining us all the way through the year. As we go on, you'll be able to find out more about them. Qualifying is currently underway, just over minute and a half left remaining. Currently, the pace setter out the front is Andrew Aitken doing an 18.1 second lap, Randy. A very short lap here at Iowa. The drivers have to get it spot on in qualifying. Well, two drivers today who have to serve a rear of grid penalty and will not post a time in qualifying. One is going to be Logan Simmons, who has not posted a qualifying just yet, with 50 seconds remaining in the session and no cars left out on the surface. And Tom Zeiger being the other one, but he is not here today. He raced for the first time at Belle Isle and already has managed to get himself rear of grid penalty. Yep. So pretty good going for that driver. Looks as though everyone, Randy, has finished off qualifying. They only got 2 laps to do it. And, of course, that being 2 very fast laps, it's a case of they now get a little bit more of a rest before the start of this race.
Yep, Logan Simmons is the only one I see who has not logged a qualifying time, but I can tell you right now, full field separated by 0.8 of a second, so a pretty competitive field we're going to have here today, but it's going to be survival that's going to be the talking point, and I think that's going to be probably something we get into a little bit more, as we're about 10 seconds from Jack taking you down your starting grid.
And of course, just before we take you down to the starting grid, you'll spot a new addition to the Classic IndyCar Series today. Josh Chin has a friend from Team Chimera, and that is in the form of Jamie Wilson. He ran his strategy last time out at Belle Isle. Well, he's decided he's going to come and race the rest of the season. He's going to be starting in the mid-pack today. And as everyone heads themselves down to the starting grid, we can show you how they will line up. The front row is going to be occupied by Andrew Aitken and Timo Isanyemi. They're going to start first and second. Lucas Seville is going to line up in third position, with Tristan Hauser lining up in fourth. Robert Grosser will be starting his fifth, Josh Baird sixth, Josh Chin all the way down in seventh, Yoni Kayanen eighth, Mike Gerlich in ninth, and Andrew Wood will round out the top 10. Caleb Weekly going to be starting in 11th, Johnny Gorette 12th. The driver of Todd Novastad is going to be starting 13th. Jamie Wilson, as I just mentioned, in the mid-pack there in 14th. And just behind him is going to be our championship leader, Mr. Matt Cook, in 15th. Andrew Adair Saunders, 16th. Hans Pitkinen down in 17th. Matt Molnar, 18th. Jonathan Dix, 19th. And Nate Michael is going to round out the top 20. Grid is then Vesula Ollier, Zachary Svahar, Carsten Broadby, Marshall Stanley, and Logan Simmons to round out the 25-car grid today here at the Iowa Speedway. 250 laps awaiting the drivers. We're all going to line up on pit road, something which we don't see very often actually in oval racing here, Randy, as well. The pit lane is curved, so these drivers, especially if they're towards the end of the pit lane, the guys in sort of the top 10 in qualifying, they're going to be going around a curve to find their pit stall. Going to be really hard to get themselves parked into that one.
You can see that pretty clearly on the camera shot I have set up right now, that this entire row of cars is very kind of tightly contorted around the exit of pit road here. But you're right, it is sort of a unique thing to this racetrack, and on the bigger 1.5 mile tracks that are pretty much nearly exactly a double the size of this track is 0.8 of a mile long, nearly 9/10, so close enough to twice the size. You pretty much get a straight pit lane, maybe a slight curve, but nothing really to write home about. Here, though, especially on the exit, it really kind of tightens up into a corner as you sort of peel off towards turn 2 in the middle of turns 1 and 2. So really unique part of this racetrack for sure, and I think you're right, even getting out of the pit lane is going to be a little bit difficult for these guys as they're about to roll off for their couple of observation laps before we go racing.
Yeah, of course, the length of this Iowa Speedway, it's just going to be 2 laps before we go green, I believe. It's not going to be the usual thing that we see on ovals where 1 green flag lap and we are racing. Let these drivers get some temperature into the tyres, into the brakes, get the pressures up, get ready for that first lap. Everyone going into that first corner is going to be tight. It's going to be close. Track conditions today is 48 degrees Celsius on the track, 26 degrees Celsius in the air, and a westerly wind at 9 kilometers an hour. So not very windy here today, Randy, but a very warm track, meaning that grip is going to be pretty much a luxury.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about that weather much, so we'll take a peek. 119 degrees Fahrenheit and on the track and clear skies. 78 degrees Fahrenheit ambient, so nothing too crazy there, but still, the clear sky. Have they had a cloudy race yet? I feel like they haven't.
No, I don't think they have. It's warm weather has been the theme, really, with the Classic IndyCar Series so far this year. It's going to be looking at 2 full fuel stops to get these drivers to the end of the race, but of course we will talk about strategy later on. We will probably see some more pit stops than that, though. Strategy is going to be important because the cautions are going to play into it. Last time we were here in 2017, we hit the time limit of 2 hours and we ran 35% of the race under a yellow flag conditions. Hopefully we're going to get a lot more green flag running here today. If we go green right to the end with no cautions, it's going to be done in about 85 to 90 minutes. So it could be a very quick race for these drivers here today as everyone heads themselves into turn numbers 3 and 4. 3-lane racetrack. The iRacing pace car will dive themselves off to the left-hand side onto pit lane. And the driver, Andrew Aitken, will be under the control of the field. He jumps. We're racing at Iowa for 250 laps. This is the halfway stage of the 2019 Classic IndyCar Series. And it's a brilliant start from Andrew Aitken up the front of the field. Got a good jump off the start. As he heads himself into turn number 3, the driver of Team Yami, who's dropped down to 3rd, Lucas Laville, now challenging down to the bottom side of the racetrack. You can see looking behind, he's going to go inside as they cross the line for the first time. Who's going to be classed as the first position? It's going to be Lucas Laville. So Laville leads the first lap of 250, Randy. But a brilliant start from Aitken, just cannot keep that pace.
Actually, it doesn't seem like a brilliant start at all, because he's going to lose the second spot as well to the 43 of Timo Yemi. And there's more Vortex cars who want to find their way to the head of the field. Next is going to be Tristan Hauser in the 56, and behind him, Grosser in the 27 gets spun. I think Aitken kind of chopped the nose off there, and there's going to be a huge incident at the start of this one.
Little bit of argy-bargy in the opening laps of this one, as it looks as though Aitken was moving to the bottom side of the racetrack. And it was a case of that there was a car sat there under caution for the first time. The other car involved was Tristan Hauser, the 56. Logykal Vortex looking very good here today, currently occupying the top 3 positions in the standings. And that was a bit of a funny incident. Joshua Chin in that start has managed to get himself up to 5th position. He's gaining a couple of positions there off the back of the win at Belle Isle. A very dominant win as well for Josh last time out, 2nd one of the year. Matt Cook is up to 11th, 12th position, I believe, in the start as well. So Matt Cook's got a lot of work to do actually today, Randy, the championship leader. He's looking competitive, but I think maybe struggling in these opening stages.
Well, the thing I think to keep in mind is that around these sorts of racetrack, qualifying can really be kind of a change-up from some of the bigger ovals. I know even in the newer car, I remember working with the likes of Liam Quinn and some of the other drivers for the, this is at least in the beginner series that was running last year. We kind of threw some weird things at the Dallara IR18 on the shorter tracks to make it really, really quick in qualifying. Some of that changed over to the race set, some of it did not, but it's something that's gonna, I think, maybe be why we see so many new names kind of up near the front of the field in this qualifying session, and why some of the quicker guys maybe not quite at the head of the field like we typically expect. I will say that incident, I think Aitken kind of slammed the door there on Tristan. You know, first 5 laps there, Tristan has that run, and he's likely always going to go for that move. And Andrew kind of, I think, unnecessarily shut the door and spun himself on the nose there at Tristan Hauser. So things getting argy-bargy already. This is a very difficult racetrack to make passes at. There's a couple, you know, there's 2 or 3 lines of racing you can potentially use. So I'd expect a lot of side-by-side racing. And, you know, we saw, I think it was 15 cautions last time we saw these guys around this place in 2017. I think we're going to be in for another lot of cautions tonight.
4 drivers have headed themselves down onto the pit lane in this first yellow period. Andrew Aitken, Logan Simmons, Hans Picken and Josh Baird all decided that they're going to come down, get some new tyres, full tank of fuel and back out again. A little bit early to be playing the strategy game, I feel, in the opening stages. But as we head into the race, especially as we hit sort of that quarter-way mark, the strategy is going to become a lot more important. And under yellow flag conditions, Randy, these guys trundling around at 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour, they're going to be saving a lot of fuel. Yeah,
they are. You're going to have this thing basically in the safety car fuel map, and you're going to be just sipping fuel as compared to when you finally open it up. You're going to be gulping that ethanol that is, of course, grown here in the state of Iowa. Iowa, most famous for its corn growth. But yeah, you talked about it earlier, though, and I know I mentioned it. Vortex looks really, really quick here today, and that's definitely good to see. We saw them have good pace out at Texas, but incidents, they got caught up in incidents with each other even out at Texas. Now one of them's already basically been taken out in Tristan Hauser, so it's from 4 of them down to 3. The first non-Vortex car is going to be Josh Chin, who picked himself up a few spots off that start. Of course, some of that just from missing that incident. So question's got to be, how pacey are these Vortex cars going to be in this race as the lights finally go out on the safety car, and we're getting ready to go back racing. Yeah, green flag will fly the next time the drivers head across the start-finish line, as no one decides that they want to be facing, as long as no one decides they want to be facing the other way on this lap. Everyone's just preparing themselves for the start. Expect to see the drivers head themselves to the top side of the racetrack and get themselves ready. You want to run that high groove, try and get a good run off of turn number 4. Set yourself for a good run into turn number 1. That looks to be what Lucas Laville is going to do. It's the pace car we will see dive down to the left-hand side. We're riding on board with the number 3 machine. Mr. 3-time himself, Robert Grosser. Of course, the 3-time champion of the Classic Indycar Series. 3 times on the trot. As the pace car will dive left, we're going to take you RaceSpot TV fan immersion for the restart.
And a clean restart from everyone within the top 10. Johnny Garrett getting a bit of a bad run into turn number 1, losing a couple of positions. But everyone back under green flag conditions. Line astern up at the front, a little bit of jostling going on in the mid-pack. Everyone trying to work out where they need to be on pace. Some of the slower drivers who might have struggled in qualifying, making their way through the field. Looking at this pack, we're looking at that 68 of Johnny Garrett down in 11th position. And behind him, side by side, between Todd Novstad and Matt Moeller.
Yeah, these guys really fighting wheel to wheel here as they work through 3 and 4. And this is what I love about this racetrack close moment between the 36 and the 29. They're going to sort it out, though, is that as short as this track is, you really do have a couple of lanes that you can run. The bottom is very, very bumpy around this place, particularly, well, really on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So as the rubber starts to really burn off on these tires, look for them to maybe move up the racetrack a little bit and run that second groove. Watch them as they run through 1 and 2. They never get quite all the way down to that yellow line because that's where the bumps tend to really pick up and get worse. Through 3 and 4, you're going to see these guys get a little bit lower, but they still leave a little bit of breathing room down there on the bottom as we're back to yellow already.
We have got a yellow. We got a car stopped out of turn number 4. That's the number 32, and I hear more contact. So Andrew Wood is stopped to the inside of the racetrack. There's another car stopped as well. That's the 31. Replay up on your screens now, ladies and gentlemen. This is looking at Andrew Wood. Powerslide Classic Motorsports just loses the rear end through 4, gets high into the top side wall, and then contact for another car coming through. I believe that was the number 31 machine of Mike Gerlicka. I believe it was indeed.
So we'll watch that. We'll see what Mike Gerlicka actually saw from the roll bar cam. This Aero X car, he basically just lost it all by himself. Not much he could really do on that. Just got loose on the bottom, and Gerlicka is really unlucky there. This car came down right in front of him. I will say, I think it was the 6 of Matt Cook who barely missed that incident. Matter of fact, it was your championship leader. Watch how tight this is going to be. Just sitting out in front of Mike Gerlicka, turns in towards turn 3. See that car at the top of the screen, finds the wall. And it's only about 10 feet that I think he managed to miss that incident. So not a lot of breathing room there for Mr. Matt Cook, who's currently leading the championship situation. He's going to end up coming down pit road, though, and it looks like we have some safety car shenaniganry happening.
Yes, the safety car shenaniganry is indeed happening. Matt Cook is out and away in a pit stop time of 8.3 seconds, so new tyres and a full tank of fuel by the looks of things for Mr. Cook. Other visitors, Andrew Aitken has decided that he wants to visit pit lane again on this caution period. Marshall Stanley, Zach Svahar, and Carson Brodby are going to join them down on the pit lane. But everyone else staying out in these opening stages of the race. Still very early into this fuel run, and a lot of fuel saving has been going on under caution. The top 5 relatively unchanged. We did see Lucas Laville break away just a little bit there, Randy, and then a 4-car train running back with Timo Sinyemi, Robert Grosser, Josh Chin, and Joni Kainen.
Yeah, the lead car is always going to have a big advantage on the restarts here because this car really does struggle with rear traction getting back up to speed. So it's going to kind of... when you're the leader, you pretty much can go when you want, and then everyone's on. There's a second that they have to, of course, then react. But this isn't like some of the cars, especially when you can see the tires start really burning off and the fuel even getting light. Sometimes that can be, make things difficult as well. They can't just stomp their foot down to the ground as I do so with my Fanatec pedals, just pushing the point forward. You can't just stomp your foot to the ground, and because you're just going to spin the rear tires up and you'll end up pretty much in the wall. You have to really be careful getting on the throttle, and for that reason, it's the in between reaction time and just trying to keep the rear traction. It can be really difficult to try to keep that leader honest going into turn 1 on the restart. So that 2 car, he's going to have a pretty big advantage over the rest of the field every time we go back to green.
And of course for Lucas Laville as well, the more time we spend under caution, the less time he's got to spend a green flag out the front of the field. And I mean, already it's going to be looking like if the cautions stay this way, we're going to hit this 2-hour limit. So for Lucas Laville, being under caution is a blessing, but also a curse, because it's going to put these tyres through heat cycles. The more heat cycles you put them through, a little bit worse for where they're going to be. And before long, you're going to be wanting a new set of tyres because they're just not going to be as optimum as they would be had you not put them through 3-4 heat cycles. Yeah, I mean, you don't... I mean, it's not great, but it's also not horrible. I will say, I think generally one of the worst things for the tires is just to keep them loaded, and especially here, and just, go a full run. So the tires
they're not going to be in a great situation, but they won't be horrible either. But I will say it's a fair point, and we're going to watch off the back of Lucas Seville. I want to see if anyone's behind him struggles with the traction here come to green.
So the lights are off on the pace car. It's going to dive left onto the pit lane. And we will be back under green flag racing. And a brilliant restart once again by Lucas Seville, pulling nearly half a second on Team Musinyemi. Everyone looking like they're able to get this traction down off the mark, Randy. A little bit of side-by-side going on in the mid-pack. But up at the front of the field, it's all good, and all the way through the field, everyone is up and running.
Yeah, everyone pretty much getting single-filed out here quickly on this restart. And I think that's expected with the tires starting to really get up there now in terms of age. You see a little bit of side-by-side here behind the likes of Andrew Adair Saunders. This Nate Michael and Josh Baird, I believe the two we have running nearly wheel-to-wheel. At least they did through 1 and 2. Now through 3 and 4, they get it single filed out. Another pack of cars behind. Ball on the bottom, your championship leader, the 6 of Matt Cook. He is working on this pack. Does Hans Pitkinen, he's currently working inside of as they turn in towards turns 1 and 2. The 6 car has it done, and then up the racetrack goes that lime green car. I think a little bit of a snap oversteer, maybe even almost snap tight is what happened there. But Matt's going to just about be able to get that spot picked up. And Matt Cook is going to continue marching his way forward from a relatively poor qualifying position.
That's 13th position currently for Matt Cook in the number 6 machine. The car ahead is Nate Michael, the number 15. He's going to be pushing forward to get himself inside the top 10. We're looking a little bit further forward in the field. And this is the battle. I'm just trying to think. This is actually behind Matt Cook. Excuse me. This is between Matt Molnar and Vesiula Ollier. Hans Pitkinen getting involved in this one as well. Pitkinen looking down to the inside of Vesiula Ollier in the 96 as they head themselves into 3. But no move going to come. The 25 sitting there as well as Marshall Stanley. Stanley now, as we ride on board with him, looking to the inside of Hans Pitkinen into 1.
Yeah, and you can see it's difficult to really pick your spots here. Do you see Stanley getting all the way down to that yellow line, running a little bit lower than we saw some of your front runners doing when we checked in with them a little bit ago. Through 3 and 4, not going to quite get down to that yellow stripe, but it's so difficult around this place because you're going to be fighting the aero push as well as the bumps and everything that makes this track difficult. The fact that it's a short track means that you have, of course, all those aero elements on the car. So you see you have you basically are on the road course aero kit, really, and you see the 2 in front of Marshall side by side, and because of that, the cars in front of you generate a huge hole in the air that's just going to be making the car so tight when you're tucked right underneath their rear wing, and especially when you get into a big field of cars, it's going to make things really dicey as these guys continue what is a pretty hard fight here in your mid-pack.
Yeah, Vesiula Ollier just last time around, got a little bit high off of turn number 2, compromised his run into 3 and 4. Hans Pitkinen had a look to the inside but wasn't able to make anything of it, couldn't get the traction. A little bit of tyre smoke ahead of them. No one has stopped on the racetrack, so obviously just a little bit of tyre skewer or half spin for someone. As we look forward in the pack, looking at Andrew Adair Saunders, this is the battle for 10th position. Matt Cook has got in front of these guys. Behind Andrew Adair Saunders and Josh Baird, who of course provided us with that onboard virtual reality track guide at the start of the show. Looking to get himself past the 12 machine.
Yeah, Josh doing everything he can. He's not had a great run this season. I think he's pretty much ended up in incidents somehow, some way every single week. So it's not been exactly what Josh would have wanted. Out in front, though, Matt Cook continuing to march forward up the inside of Todd Novosad, and through 3 and 4, he'll get that spot picked up. So the 6 car, great run going for him as he works around Todd Novosad. Started this race in 15th. He's already up to P number 9, so +6 on the race thus far.
And the driver of Vesiula Ollier in the 96 we saw battling just a few laps ago has decided that he's going to visit pit lane. Not quite sure what's going on there, but it looks to be a routine stop. Maybe not. This is longer than about 8 seconds, so maybe issues for the 96. We'll keep our eyes on this one. Potentially a new front wing. Picked up a little bit of damage somewhere.
I see that right side pod has got a little bit of damage. I wonder if he smacked the wall somewhere.
I'm not sure whether I see the damage. Replay, this looks like him coming into pit lane.
So we'll
ride on. Is that crabbing, actually?
Maybe a little bit, so we'll try to get an onboard camera here. And right there, I think he tags the wall. So we'll rewind the cameras back just a little bit further. See, what you can already see, the side pod's already sort of out of check. He can see where the paint scheme doesn't really line up on the right-hand side. He's gotten back out, I believe, on the racetrack, by the way, and he finds the wall right there, and I think that's where he likely would have damaged the car. And you see him struggling with that thing, and he is, nope, actually, take that back. He is out of that race car, so he's called it a day, as Matt Cook is now trying to, I believe, rein in the fight of, it looks to me like Jamie Wilson in the 87, which would be, I think, the 75 of Logan Simmons as well.
So Logan Simmons, the driver who we usually see in the mid-pack, running up within the top 10. Good qualifying. He qualified 25th, actually, so...
Good
and he's had a pit stop.
qualifying.
He had a really poor... Actually, he didn't even set a qualifying lap because he had a rear of grid penalty. He's already had a pit stop. He's running up inside the top 10, running up with Jamie Wilson, who is a very quick driver in general, proving himself in the Classic IndyCar Series in the opening 30 laps of this event today, Randy. Logan having a good race. However, he's about to get gobbled up by Matt Cook.
Yeah, both of them are going to very shortly, and Logan Simmons is really hounding the 87 of Jamie Wilson, though. Jamie, typically not much of an oval guy. I know that we tried the modifieds during week 13 as we got in the new cars, but besides that, Jamie's really not one to do much running on the ovals, and even IndyCar in general is sort of a, well, it's become a more common thing with Josh getting involved, but Logan gets a good run off of turn 2 up the inside of Jamie, and I think Jamie's just going to let him have this spot. Just knowing Jamie's mindset as early in the race as this is. Now, though, they have the 6 car of Matt Cook, who's very much a part of this fight as well. So a little bit of a 3-car scrap that Matt's going to first put Jamie in the rearview mirror, and then pretty much all in one move starts setting up the next move on Logan.
And it looked as though Logan actually created the gap for Matt Cook to come through on Jamie Wilson. And Matt Cook's just gone, yep, you're going to the top side of the racetrack. He's going to get the inside line to turn number 1. Stick his hand up, say thank you very much, and move himself up into 6th position. So he's now got to set his eyes forward to Team Lewis and Jamie just a little bit further up the racetrack. However, Logan Simmons is giving a good fight back here, Randy. Didn't let Matt have it. That took him a lap to get that move done.
Yeah, Logan is in a situation he doesn't want to give up too much time and potentially let Jamie get back, because Logan definitely, I think, has the pace over the 87 car at the moment. So he doesn't want to just, make the gap too big for Matt and then immediately potentially lose that spot to the 87. So I think that's a good move there from Logan. And you can see they're not really... Matt really isn't dropping this duo, so it's not a huge pace advantage for the 6 car, especially now as we're likely going to start seeing these tires really start to drop off as the 75 way up the racetrack and nearly made a unplanned visit with the wall.
And Logan running a much higher line than Jamie Wilson through 3 and 4 that time. Wasn't sure whether Jamie was going to have a bit of a look down the inside as we ride on board with the number 87 machine. You can see running that very low line. Don't want, as you said, Randy, don't want to get too much lower because you are going to start hitting those bumps and they will bite hard here at Iowa. Fastest lap of the race currently has gone to Logykal and an 18.437. Your leader still Lucas Laville. As I say that, there has been a change for the lead. Josh Chin has got himself up the inside of Lucas Laville through 1 and 2, and the 93 leads the motor race.
Something has happened because I don't think Josh was in 2nd place recently. I think that there may have been a little bit of lap traffic. We're going to rewind these cameras back, and maybe we were quite wrong, but Josh has managed to work his way past all the Vortex cars somehow in the recent laps and had found some speed over the Vortex guys, it would seem, as he managed to chase down Lucas Laville. As we're getting a replay from the pass, we've just sort of wound the cameras back about 40 seconds. So this is the sort of couple laps setting up the pass, and see him up the inside of 1 and 2. That 93 car just able to get that job pretty much done and over with, as the 77 of Logykal just sitting there in the wings as well. So 3 car pretty much train at the moment at the head of the field. And talking about the tire life and the tire degradation, that quick lap for Logykal, 18.437, that came on lap 9. The guys are currently on track doing 18.8s, 18.9s, and even 19s. So they've lost a lot of time in the 44 laps since this race started.
And don't count out Robert Grosser, currently sitting in 4th position. You can see him just at the top of your screens, ladies and gentlemen, as they head themselves into turn at number 1. He's still a very quick driver, setting lap times very similar to the guys ahead of him and in draft range of Logykal, so it is possible that he could pull himself back up to these top 3 and start fighting for this race lead. Still very early stages. We've got a car stopped. That's the number 15. So Nate Michael, who was in 10th position, is down to the bottom of the racetrack. We do stay green, ladies and gentlemen, so green flag is going to stay. And as he came through turn number 2, just lost the rear end, got himself off the racetrack and out of the way, and luckily just about avoided a caution, but he has got a lap down and he is now 19th position.
Yeah, not a great incident there for him, but not the end of the world either. He pretty much spins, and he may lose a lap because of that. Of course, these laps being so quick, you can see he catches one of those bumps on the bottom of the racetrack that we talked about. He just sort of high centers the car for a moment, and that pretty much kicks it out from underneath them. He does go a lap down because, of course, these guys are doing sub 20-second lap times. It doesn't take much for you to lose that lap around this place. I will say we're starting to sort of near the sort of pit window that we would expect. About 80 laps is what you're going to be doing on a tank of fuel, maybe actually a little bit more. We're expecting 2 stoppers here today.
Yeah, expecting 2 stoppers indeed. And the fuel window under full green flag running is about 80 laps, as you say, Randy. However, it will be extended probably more towards the 1900 mark. We've got a car stopped as they head themselves across the race, the start-finish line. Caleb Weekly, hang on, how the hell has he managed to get down there? He's almost on pit lane.
No, he's down on the access road between the racetrack and pit road, so he's had a spin off of turn 4, it would seem. So let's see what's happened to Caleb. I've actually seen drivers enter that bit of asphalt thinking it was the pit road, so I think he's likely had a spin off of turn 4 all by his lonesome, and he just went down through the grass, and that's exactly what's happened. Managed to keep it off the wall, so that was actually well held, but he ended up sort of on that access road down there on the inside, between the actual the pit road and the I don't actually know why that's there. I don't know if it's an old pit road or what the deal is, what the story is of that bit of asphalt, but I have seen drivers actually go to that mistakenly thinking it was the pit entry.
As you see, Lucas Seville and Logykal then just dealing with some back markers in the form of Marshall Stanley in the 25. They're going to get themselves heading on to their 53rd lap of the motor race. Just did see some side-by-side action for 7th position between Logan Simmons and Jamie Wilson. Jamie Wilson making his debut in the Classic IndyCar Series, and Logan Simmons new this year as well to the championship. They're both going side-by-side. Wilson running a visibly tighter line as they head themselves through 3 and 4 there, almost to the point where if he gets any lower, he's going to get himself caught out by that yellow line. And you don't want that because the banking, although it's quite a short track here at Iowa, the banking is quite aggressive through the turns and will bite if you get one wheel down on the flat.
Yeah, I think Jamie's probably just fishing for clean air a little bit, and you know, I think he's probably just gotten into that rhythm of doing that because the fact Logan for a good chunk of the run has been running a little bit higher up the racetrack. So because of that, Jamie's been able to sort of slot the nose inside of that sort of 75 car out underneath them and just sort of keep clean air. You see him sort of fishing with the racing line. They're not running in each other's racetracks here, tire tracks here as they work around the racetrack. I believe, is that a lap car that they're reeling in? Yes, it is. It's actually that 15 car, Nate Michael, who we just saw have a spin. So this duo has been nose to tail, and it's sort of a trial by fire for Jamie, who I know is just sort of like, oh yeah, Iowa, that seems like fun, I'll have a race, and sort of trapped nose to tail for this first stint on a very hot racetrack as he gets to sort out what exactly the tires are doing over this fuel run.
And this could be the opportunity for Jamie Wilson, I think. Another reason why he might be running the lower line is just in case he gets a better run off a corner and is able to set up a pass on Logan Simmons as Simmons gets held up by the 15. So Jamie Wilson now is going to also, I think, maybe get held up by Nate as they head into 1 and 2. It's not going to be the case. So Logan Simmons navigates the traffic. Jamie doesn't. So Jamie's now losing time to the 75. This is going to allow Logan Simmons to just try and create a bit of a gap, get a little bit of clean air, so he doesn't have to think about the 87 behind him.
Yeah, you're right. It's starting to work out just sort of perfectly for Logan, isn't it? Because Nate Michael just running down right up there on the bottom. Jamie gets a run off of turn 2, but not enough. Won't have any overlap into 3, but Nate's going to sort of help facilitate that pass. But actually, I take that back. He's really going to keep it outside there. I think Nate needs to sort of give way here, just with the fact these tires are dying off like this. I know Nate's trying to fight and keep his way on. Oh, what do you got?
We've got contact through turn number 4. The caution flag is back out. Johnny Garrett is slow off of turn number 4, and in fact he has contact with the 025 of Zachary Sahar. Like maybe say that Sahar was closing the door and contact with the driver behind, who was behind Garrett, and that is Andrew Aitken, a driver who's been in the wall so far today. 2 laps down on your leaders as we go back to yellow flag conditions.
So we'll see what exactly happened to Johnny here, and you see through turns number 1 and 2. Off the corner they'll come, and down the back straightaway and in towards turn 3. Where does the incident actually come from? I'm actually not sure. I think Johnny may have drifted up the racetrack there. Need to get a look at it with our TV cameras, but I don't really think there was much pinching happening there. as we'll get another look to see what happens here.
It looks, I think it's one of those accidents where you can't really call what happened. The two trajectories just merged into one another. Andrew Aitken, of course, obviously the innocent party in that one, but everyone now deciding that pit lane is where they want to be, unless they've already made their first stop. So as they head into turns 3 and 4, you can see, yeah, I think that's more of a racing incident there, Randy. It's hard to put blame on anyone. I apologise for Zach for landing it on him in the early stages before having to rewatch it. And yes, it's a very interesting incident between the two, but they were having a good side-by-side battle before that incident happened.
Yeah, they were. Like I said, I think Johnny needed to keep the car pinned down to the inside line there, but beyond that, it's about everything there was with that incident and all that there really was to talk about. Pit stops happening, and it looks like we don't really have any movers and shakers, but this is going to stack up your race leaders, and it's sort of a new group of names from what we saw at the start. Your top 5 when we eventually go back to green is going to be Josh Chin, Luke LaVille, Yoni Kaijan, Robert Grosser, and Matt Cook with this restart has been able to join the mix as well.
So a lot of drivers deciding that, obviously, having pit lane. We're going to step aside for a couple of seconds here on RaceSpot TV. We'll be back with further coverage of the halfway point of the Classic IndyCar Series.
Voice of the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series. Introducing Pro 2 and Pro 4 trucks on iRacing. Game on!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to coverage of round 7 of the Classic IndyCar Series, the Lionheart, Iowa Indy 250. Just about to go back to green flag racing, riding on board with the 93 of Josh Chin, who's currently leading your race today. 65 laps in the books, 185 laps to go. Currently on a third caution period for an incident coming out of turn 4 between Zachary Sahar and Johnny Gret. As the pace car dives himself onto pit lane, Lucas Levitt or Josh Chin gonna get everyone back to green flag running, and a good restart from the 93. Lucas Seville and the 77 gonna follow. There's a car which hasn't got restarted though. The 27, he's got going now, but Andrew Aitken, a really horrible restart there, Andy, and he's on pit road.
So yeah, something's actually really happened to him. I almost wonder if he somehow lost drive or something. We'll get a replay of that here in a couple moments. I want to see what happens with this lead fight. They're relatively spread out, so we'll rewind the cameras back just about a minute here to see what has befallen the 27 car. Oh,
And
we're back to yellow anyway.
Yeah, we're back to yellow. We got a car stop. That was the 75. Logan Simmons, a driver who is having a great race, and he now has no front bodywork. It looks as though going into turn number 1. That was an interesting incident.
Well, we'll get a look at it after we see what happened. Oh, Andrew Aitken, he just spun the tires up on the apron. I want to rewind these cameras back just once again so you can listen. This is the famous mistake to make in the IndyCar on restarts. He shifts it all the way down to first gear. We want to rewind them back a little bit further. Watch the actual gear shift on the steering wheel. He's currently in 4th gear, and he makes the famous mistake. He paddles it all the way down to first and then just stomps the pedal. And you never, ever, ever want to be doing that on the restarts. Now, what happened to the 75?
It was on lap number 67. You can see Logan Simmons sat in his pit box with quite extensive damage. There he is lodged into the safety barrier. This is how it happened. Looking at them heading through turns 3 and 4, riding on board. You can just see heading into turn number 1 and 2. Cross the start-finish line. And there's the contact. And he is in that wall. A very heavy incident for Logan Simmons, and he is out of this event.
We'll take a look from our TV cameras. He's moved up a little bit. Remember, he is running that sort of cobalt green and white car behind a Jamie Wilson. Here he's fighting with the 29, following the pit stops, and maybe a little bit of net code at play there. Sees Logan Simmons pretty much end up lodged in the safer barrier, and well, very quick caution for these guys, and I don't think we saw anyone really take the pit stop.
No, it doesn't look like anyone has come down to pit lane. Hans Picklen and Caleb Weekly have. So 2 drivers deciding that they want to get a stop. Hans Picklen has already stopped twice, Caleb Weekly once. So I think that might have been the first stop for Caleb. So he's getting it done. Because, of course, we're getting close to that limit with the fuel on that first stint. But everyone now has completed their first stop, Randy. And this should take them to about the 140, 150 lap mark.
Yeah, you are right about that for sure. I mean, that's going to get them a very, very decent way in towards this race. I mean, remember, we're expecting about an 80 lap run on a tank of fuel, which I will say actually will not get you the distance on 2 stops. You might have to do a splash if you do 80 laps per stint. With the way the cautions have fallen, though, that shouldn't be a problem, and we're likely going to see people come down pit road more. But I think we need to start hounding the point. We talked a little bit at the ad break, but we get a quick caution here, Jack. Last time these guys ran here, they hit the time limit. This series does run with a 2-hour time limit on the race, and I'll bring that up on the graphic for everyone to see. We're already a little past quarter distance here. 30 minutes already been burnt off. 34 minutes nearly have already been burnt off that clock. And if we start stacking cautions, that's going to become very, very relevant for these guys, because being such a short track has such a high lap count. Typically, the mile-and-a-half racetracks, the sort of cookie-cutter tracks that are so prevalent in the United States, you're not going to see that really be a problem because the lap count is relatively low. Here, 250 laps, unless these guys... if these guys string together a bunch of cautions. We saw 13 when the when the race limit kicked in 2017, 2 years ago. We are currently working, is this 5?
I think it's just caution number 4. They ran 213 laps in 2017 with 15 cautions, and that hit the 2-hour time limit. So it could be interesting to see as to what state we get to today. Obviously, 4th caution is the day, as I just mentioned. I reckon we can go probably 3 more cautions as long as we have some decent green flag running, and we will get to the 250 lap mark. If this ran fully green from start to finish, the race would be completed
take about
in
90
under 90
seconds.
minutes. Yeah, it's about 90 minutes on the full green flag running to run this race here today. It's around 213 miles in distance. It's over 250 laps. Lights are off on the pace car, Randy. Everyone's going to go back to green flag running, and I think everyone's now going to have it implanted in their mind that they want some nice long green flag stints here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right for sure about that one. So it's going to be interesting to see how people kind of respond here, especially as we've had one car make the mistake coming to the green of spooling those rear tires up and basically spinning his way on towards pit road at the restart, and then another very, very quick restart as well after just a couple laps. What'll happen on this one?
Well, we will wait and C. As the drivers head themselves into turns numbers 3 and 4, the pace car will head themselves on to the pit lane, which it does indeed. Josh Chin is going to be in charge of the field. Back to green flag running we will go here at Iowa. And another good restart from Josh Chin. In fact, from the whole of the top 3, they've Yoni Kaiden pulling a gap out on the number 3 of Robert Grosser, but he's got a mirror full of Matt Cook here, Randy, who's up into 5th position. And with these cautions, could bring it back. We're back to yellow flag conditions. Nate Michael is the driver who has caused this one.
So Nate Michael, once again, we saw him have that spin. This time there's a lot of terminal damage on that race car. He got away with one once, and he's not going to get away with it twice. Oh, that's really just sort of having to save. He's trying to save the car, was he? And then he sort of just clipped that apron. I've rewound the cameras back a little far. My apologies on that. But you're going to see what happens here on this restart. He sort of turns in towards turns 1 and 2, gets a little loose, and he starts counter steering, trying to hold on to the car. I don't think he's trying to save it as much as he's trying to just not spin down into the wall. And he just catches that apron, and the car just catches. The left front tire just hooks up, and not really much he can do after that happens, and he just spits him out into the wall. But that's what is that, our 3rd quick caution here in a row now, so they're starting to stack up just a little bit.
And this is where the drivers are actually going to start getting impatient. They're going to want to, and this, yeah, we're seeing more and more mistakes. The drivers are going to get impatient. They want green flag running, and maybe going to get a little bit too eager on these restarts. And we're going to step aside once again here on Racebot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. We'll be back in just a few moments' time.
Hi there, I'm Richard Jobling, Senior Software Engineer here at iRacing. I'd like to show you some of the work that we've been doing to improve the collision and the damage in our sim. One of the major changes we've made is how our collision systems work. The old system stored the track as parametric surfaces, and the cars were made of collections of spheres. As the cars moved around the track, we would recompute planes using the track surfaces, and then test those against the spheres. This worked well for spheres, but was too specialized to adapt to our shapes. So for the new system, we've built new high-resolution meshes for each track. This is more efficient and gives us a lot more flexibility for the car shapes. The new mesh incorporates all the track features our guys work so hard to replicate. Things like curb geometry and changes in the surface material are all baked into the mesh. We've also taken our laser scan data and applied that to the mesh. And since the mesh is so high resolution, we capture all the detail that's necessary so that the tracks are just like the real thing. With our new mesh, we can now represent cars using smooth, convex hulls, which grouped together form the chassis, the bodywork, and all the other parts of the car. The new shapes are a much closer fit to the shape of the real car. During impacts, the shapes can deform according to the damage, and eventually they can break off as separate objects. All the parts, like wings, hoods, and wheels, can also hang from their joints, flapping and vibrating until they eventually snap off. All these changes are going to add a whole new level of realism to our races. If you want to find out more, please visit iRacing.com and check out my blog post for lots more details.
Hi, my name is Greg Hill. I'm the Vice President of Art and Production here at iRacing. This damage project that we've been discussing is certainly a project that involved all hands on deck to pull off. We've got a rather sizable number of cars in our portfolio, and not all of these cars have been built with this dynamic damage system in mind. So what we had to do is one by one go through our race cars, and we had a team of 3 artists, a highly technical modeler, our technical art director, and our associate art director.
As the drivers cross the stripe this time by, we'll be back under green flag running onto lap number 79 of the Iowa Indy 250, presented by the Lionheart Racing Series, the pace car. We'll go on to the pit lane, and Josh Jim will once again be under the control of the field. And back to green flag racing we go at Iowa. A clean restart by most of the field this time by the looks of it. Everyone safely through turns number 1 and 2.
So nice team restart this time. You see Matt Cook involved with a fight with the 3 of Robert Grosser. That's going to put Matt Cook up into that 4th spot, but he's not quite clear on the run in towards turn 1. You see a little bit of jockeying for position, and Matt able to get that spot picked up, but Robert is going to work the cutback, and he'll have the preferred line up the inside in towards turn 3. I'm surprised Matt would leave that line open, so they're going to be still fighting for it, and Robert is going to manage to take that 4th spot back, I believe, at the line. Gap was about 2 or about 100th of a second, as Cook was going to keep it out there on the outside.
Running the high line is Matt Cook. Robert Grosser having to stick to the low line of the racetrack. And it looks as though for Robert Grosser it may have just about worked out, but he's now going to get stuck to the high side as Matt Cook shoves his nose down the inside into 1 and 2. Running on board with the 29 just behind of Matt Moeller, and seeing this battle pan out, I think Matt Cook might have got the move done, because Grosser just had to check up there on the exit of 2.
Yeah, he has just a little bit. So Matt, I think, has just about been able to pick this spot up. You're also seeing your top 3 will hop into the back car in line there. They've gotten themselves pretty much line astern as Lucas Seville is working the back of Joshua Chin. Just can't quite get the move done just yet or really get a move started. And of course, clean air is going to be a huge advantage here. The slipstream is not really going to allow you much here, Jack, because you don't really have any straightaways to work the draft or work the slipstream in any way. But clean air and not having to deal with aero push is a huge advantage around this racetrack. And because of that, Lucas Seville is going to have a hell of a time trying to work around that 93.
And he's still going to be looking the top 3, still running line astern. You can see just behind Matt Cook leading the next pack of Robert Grosser, Matt Molnar, Timo Siemi and his group just behind that one. As the leaders head themselves off of 1 and 2, the 77 of Kynan looking to the inside of the number 2 of Lucas Seville. Maybe trying to set up a move for 2nd position. But at the moment, everyone's just deciding that that's not going to be a great idea heading into 1 and 2 for the 86th time.
Yeah, nothing going just yet. We'll check back in here. Cook and Grosser, they are still nose to tail. Matt Molnar has dropped off just a little bit. I will say the 87 of Jamie Wilson, we know, is sort of just having a fun run here today at Iowa, actually having and getting himself in some interesting fights. He's currently fighting with Timo Isanyemi and Josh Baird, 7th, 8th, and 9th on the racetrack.
And Josh Baird as well, of course, a driver who usually we see in the mid-pack, running up inside the top 10, qualified 6th, currently running 8th. Jameson Yami qualified 2nd, currently running in 7th position. So race pace has not quite been there for the Finn in the 43. Ahead, Matt Molnar as well, another driver who usually consigned to the mid-pack, running up in 6th position, qualified in 18th actually. He's also your biggest mover and shaker out in the field today. He's up 12 positions on where he started. The next one is going to be Matt Cook. He's up 11th, currently running in 4th position and dragging himself and Robert Grosser back up to this leading group. So we're still looking at this battle for 7th position as Josh Baird goes deep, goes high in turn number 2. Jamie Wilson sticks his nose down the inside, tips his hat, says thank you very much, and he's up into 8th.
Well, very nice move there by Jamie. Now can he start reeling in Timo Isanyemi? They've lost a little bit of a window there, so be some clean air for Jamie to really work with. Checking back in with your leaders, the 2 cars.
We got a yellow flag.
Yellow flag.
Not quite sure why the caution is out. I am seeing the 025 is moving slowly. But I'm not sure. I think that's just people jiggling into position for the caution.
Take a peek.
Quite sure what happened there.
We'll just sort of run a replay back, see what we can have. As, let's see, in towards turn 1. I think you're right. I don't think it's these guys. Oh, it started ahead of them. I see Matt Molnar slow.
Yeah, I just saw that as well. What's happened to Matt Molnar? It was coming out of turn number 2. Ooh, that was an interesting spin.
Yeah, we're having a peek of it. Oh, you just clipped the apron in towards turn 1. So that's what's befallen that 29 machine. Now it's sort of an interesting choice for these guys of do you pit or do you not? And I actually think I like coming down pit road here, because if you pit on this yellow jack, we're expecting 80 lap fuel runs. You go from 90 to 170, yeah. 170 to 250. There's no reason not to pit here, I don't think.
There's less than now 160 laps remaining. So if you pit now, you can get to the end on 1 green flag pit stop. So actually it makes sense for everyone to pit on this time around. Because if you don't get... If we run green now from here, it's going to be a case of people are going to have to make 2 green flag pit stops. And then if we get a caution, people are going to be really out of place. It's really going to play into some people's hands.
Yep, and as I, much like the professional I am, accidentally hit the wrong button. It's going to be interesting to see, though. Let's see if this time I think will be pit lane opening up, and we'll sort of watch off the back of Josh Chin, see if anyone opts to hit pit road. Waiting. I don't see anyone turning down that way, and it doesn't seem like anyone's going to commit. That's really, really odd to me, as we're expecting about 80 laps on a fuel run. So I think everyone really just favoring track position at the moment. I see 1 car that's peeled off on towards pit road, but I think the bulk of everyone, maybe, it's sort of, I guess, Jack, they're not expecting for a long green flag run to even happen.
No, and I mean, at about lap 30, I thought maybe we were going to get maybe even 100 laps under green. Now we just sort of hit this wave of cautions. And it was Todd Novosad who decided to bring himself down onto pit lane. 9.1 second stop out and away he is. So full tank of fuel and new tyres for the 36th. He's going to rejoin the racing service in 15th position, right at the back of the queue. As the queue head themselves into turn number 3 and 4. Lights still on the iRacing pace car, so we're still going to have at least 1 more lap here, Randy. And the drivers now, they're going to be thinking, we haven't reached the halfway stage of the race. We're getting on just past 46 minutes run. So it's going to now be starting to get tight as to whether we're going to hit that 250 lap marker. And now the strategies could change.
I mean, talking about the fact that we're not even halfway, we're still 30 laps out from halfway. So, and I mean, that's, if it goes green, that's 10 minutes, because you run about 3 laps per minute around this place. So if you get a green flag run, that's 10 minutes of running. So we could very quickly, catch our way, fast forward our way right back up to the halfway point on laps. And actually, if you think about it, we're at 111.50. Even if we do go all the way under green, run right up to the halfway point, we're still going to be basically halfway on time and halfway on laps at the same time, at the same point just about. There'll be about a 1 minute delta in there.
Yeah, it's going to be tight, I feel. We've still got one. I reckon we'll have 1 more lap behind the pace car before we go back to green. As you can see, the time ticking down in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the lap counter.
Let's see how quickly you can jump back and forth.
And I think Randy's having a bit of fun with the ticker. As the lights are off on the pace car, so we'll be going green next time by. 156 laps remaining in this race. I feel like Randy's now going to spend the rest of the race changing that just to try and play with both mine and your heads.
You're solo.
For everyone watching.
That was a joke, by the way.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And I think this is about our, is it 7th caution period now?
I believe so. It's something like that. His lights are out, so we'll be going back. I believe this is 6th.
Yeah, I have a feeling it might be 6th. I've lost count. I need a tally chart sat next to me the next over race.
6. This is 6.
This is 6. Okay, so this is our 6th caution period, and we will be going into our 7th green flag running period of round 7 of the 2019 Classic IndyCar Series. The pace car dives onto pit lane. Joshua Chin is going to get back going in the 93, and he's going to go straight to the bottom side of the racetrack. Go defensive from Lucas Laville. As everyone back running into turn number 1. Everyone away, and everyone going.
Yeah, relatively calm restart here, and we talked about the fact that it was going to be about 10 minutes. Just bringing up the timer. We got that restart basically on bang on an hour and 10 minutes to go in the race. So if we go green, we're going to hit the halfway in laps and halfway in time pretty much at the same exact point. So things very, very close here through this first half of the race. That said, I think this has been a much more strung out restart for everyone up and down the field. The 87 of Jamie Wilson is close to Josh Baird, and actually Josh very tight to the wall off of 4, gets very, very tight, and Jamie's going to take advantage of that. But besides that, everyone's kind of strung themselves out nicely.
Yeah, it's a very single file restart here as we head on to lap number 99 of the race. Still seeing this battle between Josh Baird and Jamie Wilson. Wilson's got the move done. He's going to promote himself up into 7th position, but the 23 isn't going to let him have it too easily. He's, of course, going to fight back through 1 and 2. Doesn't seem to have the pace. Untitled still got the fastest lap of the race of 14.438 as Matt Cook has got himself past the 77. So Matt Cook now in a podium position as we head towards the lap 100 mark.
So 100 laps into this thing, the 6 car has moved his way up from 15th up to 2nd. A handful of movers in this race thus far that Jack sort of ran down earlier. We'll give it about another 100 laps before we do it once again. Of course, we could be talking about the end of the race next time we get to that many laps. But the 6 of Matt Cook now trying to hunt down the 2 of Lucas Seville. And if you're Josh Shin, this is an absolutely nightmare situation. We really haven't talked about the points that much. We'll bring them up on the left-hand side of your screens. Josh Shin, who's 2nd in the points right now, trying to rein in that number 6 car. He's going to be hating seeing Matt bring this gap down and in this quickly.
Well, of course, Matt Cook, 3 wins, 3 poles. Josh Chin, 2 wins, 2 poles. Of course, the other win going in the very first round to the driver of Oysen Walsh. Hasn't really contested any rounds since, other than Barber had a few issues there and didn't complete the race. Matt Cook now looking down to the bottom side of the racetrack just a little bit as they head themselves through 1 and 2, running a much tighter line than Lucas Laville, maybe trying to force a gap open into 3 and 4. And he has done indeed. Lucas Laville is going to be stuck on the high side of the racetrack. Matt Cook going to creep himself through on the inside. Not quite deal done yet for the 6. It is now as they head themselves into 1 and 2. Matt Cook is up into 2nd. All of a sudden, Josh Chin, he was looking comfortable up at the front of this field. Not for much longer.
Yeah, I think Josh is going to be feeling it just a little bit. You can already see riding on board with Lucas Seville. The 6 car is opening that gap up. But that said, Lucas able to get a good run down the straights, but just through the corners. That Aero X car, look at the amount of speed he carries through the entries of the corners, and will hop up in front to the 6 car, who's already closer to the 93 than he is to the 2. Through corners number 3 and 4 and down the front straightaway. Matt's not having a great and not having a lot of speed down these straightaways, but he just closes in just every little bit through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. He has a run and he looks to the inside.
To the bottom side of the racetrack, he doesn't indeed look, but Josh Chin going to shut the door on the 6. Off the exit of 4, Cook's got the run. Across the timing stripe they will go. Just 0.03 of a second split them inside into turn number 1. I think he's going to get the move done. Josh Chin going to fight back though on the outside, getting a better run off the corner. And Matt Cook all of a sudden cycled back. Lucas Seville being brought back into this one. And Untitled and Robert Grosser in 5th, just dropping off the back of it. Running on board with Josh Chin, looking back through that rear suspension column. And everyone running line astern into turn number 1. Matt Cook almost had that there, Randy. But Josh Chin just got a better run off of turn number 2.
He's got some momentum again, did Matt, but wasn't quite close enough to make something of it. Saw him lift a little bit on the entry into 3. He's trying to set himself up for this run right here. Gets the momentum heading in towards turn 1 and get a peek towards the inside, in towards 1 and 2. We saw Josh fight back on the outside last time and carry the momentum off. He's going to try to do the same thing once again. He maintains the lead in towards 3, but I think Matt might just be able to take this, but will he have the run he needs?
I think Josh might have a better run on the high line. This car seems to be working up the top of the racetrack. Matt Cook at the bottom, but can't get the same grip off the corner. And as they head themselves off turn number 2 this time, there's not much difference between the 2. Into 3 they will go. Much better run into the corner has Matt Cook got. But again, off the corner, Josh Chin's got it. So either he saved his rear tyres just a little bit when Matt Cook's been pushing to get past. Side by side into 1 and 2 they will go once again. And Matt Cook creeping into the lead, but off the corner, Josh Chin getting it back.
Well, keep in mind what I mentioned to you earlier. Of course, these guys have come down pit road. Josh has spent this entire race pretty much out in clean air, and that has sort of a double effect. One, it's going to help you and help you make your car easier to drive, as Matt's going to just about pick that lead up. Josh is going to be able to hold on to it. Matt, I think, got cold feet in terms of shutting that door on the outside. But the clean air, not only does it allow you to go faster, but it allows you to maintain your tires, and I think that Josh being out in front has been able to keep the rubber on the race car compared to everyone else who Matt's been fighting with, and Matt will just about get clear, and he'll be able to shut the door this time, but the crossover move's going to come in from Josh Chin.
And to the inside of the racetrack, Josh Chip will go in the 93 into turn number 3, side by side off the exit of 4, and across the timing stripe they will go. Just 600 split the two. Matt Cook still classed as the leader at the line. And we've come now past the halfway stage in the race. We've got a yellow flag. We've got the 10 slow Caleb Weekly as he headed himself over the timing stripe. He has spun. And this is, I believe, now our 7th caution of the race.
So Caleb Weekly in the 10 car up the inside of the 29. Let's see what exactly happens here. We're rewound about a lap early, and there it is. Because coming off of turn 4, I don't think there was actually contact. I think he just got a little bit loose. We'll rewind these cameras back just a little bit further, hop on board, and let's see what exactly happens to this 10 car. Works down the back straightaway in towards turn 3. You see he's already had a slight moment through turn 4. Didn't quite have the speed he would have wanted. Just gets loose, and car just sort of snaps on him, so he's not able to hold on to that. And because of that, we're under caution. And we talked about the time, Jack. This yellow will mean we do not make it to halfway on laps before we make it to half distance on time. We will burn an hour under this yellow.
And it was getting close. And in fact, on this yellow, everyone deciding that they want to be on pit lane. So this is now going to be everyone's second stop of the race. For some drivers, their third. And this will mean that from here, they can definitely get to the end on one more stops. Whether that stop will be under caution or whether it will be indeed be under green flag, we will have to wait and see. Currently looking at your race leader as he was classified at the start of the caution period. That's Matt Cook. Out and away he goes. And we're then looking at Josh Chin, the Team Chimera driver. Back out and away. And Chin's got it done on pit lane. He's going to come out ahead of Matt Cook here, Randy. So the race off pit lane being won by Josh Chin.
Yeah, so an excellent stop there by Josh. He's had the quickest stop of anyone that we're looking at. Yoni Kajanen has been the slowest in terms of your sort of leading cars. And actually, did Carson Brody decide to stay out? We might have some strategy calls at play here. Few cars actually opting to stay out here on the racetrack. I believe your top 3 did not come down pit road. Maybe a couple of other cars. No, those all look like they were laps down. So Todd Novosad, Andrew Adair Saunders, and Carson Brody will be 3rd, 2nd, and 1st in that order.
And this is now interesting because you've got 3 drivers who haven't had much pace throughout today, all deciding that they want to go deep into this next stint because they've already made their second stop. Although I would argue that they still need to make 2 more to get to the end. Carson Brodby indeed does as well.
Well, now we sort of get into this weird point where if these guys have sort of crew chiefs at play, if they're probably looking at the time, people may be trying to sort of play to the time. You know, you may be targeting, not lap 250 on your strategy. You might be saying, okay, we only need to get to, say, lap 235 before the hour mark if we sort of do the same sort of pace.
And if that is the case, Carson probably will have to make 1 or 2 more
Everyone
stops.
will.
I think everyone will have to make at least another stop to get to lap 235. But the likes of Carson Brodby, I reckon, might have to make 3. Yeah, he does pit. So Carson Brodby decided that he's going to pit. So he's going to cycle himself to the back of the field. Andrew S. Saunders in the 12
and
is going to be the driver
36.
that brings us to... Oh, no, it will be Todd. No, what?
No. What I mean is that Todd and Andrew are the 2 that have not pit.
Oh, yeah, no, they are the 2 that have not pit in this caution.
I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I think I misunderstood what you were trying to mean as well. A little bit of misunderstanding going on here. But Josh Chin, he's sitting in 3rd, but he's got a lot of work to do actually to get past these drivers who may not have the pace to get himself back up to the front of the field. But if he can do it well, he could put 2 cars between himself and Matt Cook in a very opening stage of this next green flag period and give himself a bit of advantage going into the next long run.
And it could actually be advantage towards the 6 car because Matt, of course, starting in 15th, he's actually started behind that 36 car of Todd Novosad, who currently cycled in a 2nd. He's going to be used to kind of working through the traffic and with the dirty air. So it might be that Matt Cook has a slight advantage here over Josh Chin in that respect.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays. Josh Chin spent most of the race so far in clean air. As you say, Matt Cook actually has spent most of the race so far, making his way through the field. Lights are off from the pace car. Back to green flag running next time by And we have now definitely passed the halfway stage of the race on time, because it's Andrew Adair Saunders.
15 seconds past it.
Yeah, as Andrew Adair Saunders crossed the line, it was 59 minutes and 57 seconds elapsed time since the drop of the green flag. So we're now into the second half of this race on time. Haven't quite reached the second half of the race on laps. That's just 6 laps away. Still possible to make the 250 lap limit. I think that's what drivers should still be aiming for. But how many more cautions are we going to see? That is going to be the question. Andrew Adair Saunders in the 12, sticking to the high line. And as the pace car goes on to pit lane, the 12 will take the green flag, and we're back underway onto lap 120 of 250 here at Iowa. A good start from the leading 2. Josh Chin hasn't made much ground in the opening stages of this first lap as they head themselves into corners number 1 and 2 here, Randy. Everyone far behind, staying line astern, making sure they get back to sensible running.
Yeah, the restarts have been really nice. We're going to keep an eye on this 93 and the 6 because we're expecting them to have pace, especially because they're out there on new tires. We'll look off the nose here of Matt Cook, and you know what? We'll shift over to the nose of Josh Chin because look at the way he's reeling in. Todd Novosad up the inside in towards turn 3, and Josh is going to make very, very short work of Todd, And Matt Cook looks up the inside as well behind.
So, as Josh Chin heads himself down to the inside of Andrew Adair Saunders. This is going to get him back out in front into clean air. Almost contact between the two. I think there may have been as they head themselves into turn number 3. That's going to mean that Josh Chin's going to get a poor run off of turn number 4. Matt Cook all of a sudden really close to the back. And Andrew Adair Saunders is actually going to cycle himself behind Todd Novosad. So Josh Chin now back into the lead of the race. After that caution period, Lucas Seville is losing a lot of time behind these slower cars. He's only just got himself past Adair Saunders. He's now looking to get himself past Novosad as Cook looking to the bottom side of the racetrack and looking to get past Josh Chin. Hasn't been able to do it. Next time around we will be hitting that halfway stage in the race. As Matt Cook looking to the inside. Can he get a better run off the corner? I think he may have done. Crossing timing stripe, they will go. Half a car length between the two. 300th of a second into turn number 1. And Matt Cook will cycle himself to the race lead. Josh Chin, though, getting a better run off the corner. Run to the outside line. Using that high line, the car has been very good. New tyres as well for these guys. A lot of grip back out. Track temperature still high, still 48 degrees Celsius. So the grip's still not quite there, Randy, but Matt Cook really struggling to get this move done on Josh.
Yeah, you can see what happens when you keep yourself tight down there on the inside. It can really be a struggle, and it's going to really beat the tires up too. If Josh just holds the outside line, he's going to make that 6 car really abuse the tires. Also have a damaged car in front. Lap traffic, that's going to affect not only with just being there, as you see Josh actually cycle in the line, but the dirty air could be relevant as well. Also just did a quick rundown. Last time we ran this race, 13 cautions ended the race on time. Through the first half of this race, we hit 7. So at the moment, we are on pace to finish this race under the time, not only in terms of getting there at half distance and the fact that an hour had already been gone, but we are matching the 2017 run. If we keep at the current pace and if we were to do the full distance, we would do 14 cautions as opposed to 13.
Wow, my timing screens, so there's 121 laps remaining after this one, so we're now in the second half of the race on laps.
That's exactly lap 250.
Yeah, so it's also got rid of my lap counter. It switched to a time remaining counter, so maybe my timing screens, Randy, agreeing with yourself in that we will hit the time as Jamie Wilson now going to be navigating himself around Todd Novosad. Andrew Adair Saunders has had a few issues. He lost 2 positions in that one corner. There's a lot of fighting going on just towards the back of your top 10 as everyone cycles himself back into position, depending on really dependent on what pace they should be running per lap.
Yeah, you are right about that. I mean, it's sort of a it's a weird situation about what you're going to be doing on strategy at the moment. I think you're right to a certain extent. When I sort of brought up that point of maybe people are kind of shifting their focus, trying to think where they're going to be when the actual timer runs out as opposed to the lap counter. I think at the moment, everyone should still be focused on the total 250 lap race distance, because it's important to remember, you know, we had 7 cautions there. We only had really one long green flag run of about 30-40 laps that we did at the start of this race. We went from basically lap 15 to lap number 60. We haven't since had one. Most of our runs have been about 10 to 15 laps. If these guys suddenly open up a fuel run, the timer's suddenly irrelevant.
And this is what you mean. Still, all these guys have got one pit stop left to make. You can see also the gap visible now that Matt Cook has been able to pull over the driver of Josh Chin, leaving him in the clutches of Lucas Laville. Robert Gross and Yoni Kynan still sitting there behind. I think Grosser may have got past the 77 on that restart to get himself back up into 4th position as we ride on board with the number 2 of Lucas Laville. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, live timing and scoring is available. Head yourselves over to Racebot TV /timing. You can track your favorite drivers for the remaining 115 laps of the Iowa 250, presented to you by the Lionheart Racing Series. And Randy, as we ride on board with Lucas, he's closing in on Josh. Maybe telling me that Josh has just decided to cycle back a little bit as he looks to the bottom side of the racetrack.
I know that Josh in that number 83 car sort of tried a different setup on this. I believe that I was sort of in the channel with them shortly before the race on Discord. I believe that he had mentioned that they had sort of are trying something that is a little bit more in line with what they do with the Dallara IR18 in terms of the newer car for these short tracks. So maybe not quite liking it, or maybe not quite working that well. That said, I mean, he's been out in front for a huge chunk of this race, and only now are we starting to see that number 93 kind of drop off. Could also maybe be a bad adjustment, or other cars maybe have adjusted to the track and have started to pick the pace up just a little bit because of that, because now that we're, you know, nearing 140 laps into this race, there's going to be a lot more rubber down on the racetrack, and I think the temps likely would have changed as well. I believe the track temp has since come up since the start of the race, and indeed we're at 121 degrees Fahrenheit on the track temp. I want to say we were at 112 when the race started.
It was 48 degrees Celsius when we started. It's now 49, so not too much difference in the track temperature, but it has gone up just a little bit. And of course, the racetrack getting more and more rubbered in the more laps that we run. What's also going to happen is the track is going to be pretty rubbered in. A 3-hour free practice session and a 5-minute qualifying was ran before this race today. Some drivers running almost close to 300 laps in qualifying, Randy. So they're running more laps not in qualifying, in practice. Yeah, so they're running more laps in practice than they will be in the race. And I think it was the likes of Logan Simmons and Matt Cook who were getting close to that 300 number.
Yeah, you are right about that. There are a handful of drivers that are going to be, I think, a little bit closer to that number than others.
Yeah, Matt Cook ran 285 laps in practice. I believe the driver of Logan Simmons may have run close to 300, 312 in fact he ran. And actually we can have a chat to Logan Simmons now. Logan, a brilliant start, or a rear grid penalty put you right at the back. You got yourself up almost to the top 5. Just take us through what took you out of that race.
Well, looking at it, it was net code, but from my point of view, it didn't look like he turned in. Like it was time to turn in, and he just didn't.
And well, obviously disappointing for you. Brilliant run here at Iowa. 2 weeks' time, we're out at Pocono, 400-mile race there. Very different type of oval to this one. Of course, less than a mile here at Iowa, 2.5 miles at Pocono. What's your preparation going to be like for that 400-miler?
Trying to figure out what corner I want that car to work best in, because this car, if it ain't a symmetrical track, you've got to figure out where you want it to be best at, because it's ridiculous with this. It'll spin out at certain corners, stuff like that, so I think it would be just finding which one needs to have the most work done to it.
And well, obviously, could have been a good points haul for you heading into the second half of the championship. What are your hopes to do with that championship standings? Where are you trying to aim to finish when it comes to that final round at Indianapolis in November?
Trying to get to where I don't have any more points penalties. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't know where I'm at right now, but it's ridiculous. So I'm just trying to get there.
You are, just trying to look through my standings now. You're 42nd in the standings with a total of 5 points. So a lot that you can do in the second half of the championship. Get yourself up the field. Of course, obviously, you can get yourself into the top 10. That's currently 90 points for 10th position. That's Randy Shoemake. So a lot that you could do. And well, before we go and let you enjoy the rest of this race, Logan, who would you like to give a shout out to today?
The Rain Race podcast, my sponsor. That's about it. I mean, it was a good run. I thought I had a car that could win this race.
And well, Logan Simmons started last, made his way into the top 10, had a brilliant run, then was taken out by an incident here today, Randy. Very unlucky for him, but we are now approaching the point where we're going to be having less than 100 laps to go in this race. We've got a car stopped on the front stretch. That is the 23 of Josh Baird. He was 9th, but he's kept it off the racing track, so we're going to stay green.
Yeah, he's sort of down on that inside again, isn't he, with Joshua Baird, and got to rewind the cameras just a little bit further as we just catch the tail end of that spin. But I think it's going to be the same thing. He probably just catches a bump or just gets loose on the track out point of turn 4, spins down into the grass, and able to keep it off the wall. We've seen a handful of cars end up down there, and everyone's been able to keep it off the wall. That said, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, very tightly contested at the moment between Josh Chin, Luke LaVille, and Robert Grosser.
And it's still very close to second.
Not far off either.
Yeah, Yoni Kainen is still there. Matt Cook's kind of run away with it just that little bit. It's about a 1.5 seconds to the good over Josh Chin at the moment as they head themselves onto lap number 153 of the motor race. Behind Lucas LaFille, he's been looking, Randy, but there's been no opportunities as yet which Josh Chin has given him to be able to get himself down the inside and try and make a move.
Yeah, they've been sort of sitting there rather patiently. I think they don't want to let that 6 car open up too much of a lead, but that said, as they hit a little bit of lap traffic, Matt Cook has absolutely checked out since picking up that race lead. Gap right now between Josh Chin and Matt Cook, if I could actually click on the right car, 1.6 seconds. So Matt is just basically borked away from the rest of this field.
It's almost as if he's checked in and heading himself to Pocono already. That's the gap that he's pulled out, especially here at Iowa with an 18-second lap, pulling out 1.5 seconds in clean air, I might add. It's a brilliant achievement, shows what kind of a race car Matt Cook has underneath him, just didn't have it in qualifying. And okay, qualifying is important, especially in a circuit like this if you're running in the mid-pack, but if you know you can be out the front towards the end of the race, you can still be competitive, and that's what Matt Cook is showing. Could be on for his 4th win of the year, and putting another foot in the door for the 2019 championship. As Lucas LaFille still looking very racy, although he gets himself really high out of turn number 2 this time, Randy, leaving an opportunity to Robert Grosser just to close that gap just that little bit.
Yeah, you are right about that, definitely, for sure, as these guys work their way through down the front straightaway, starting lap 158. And the thing is, every single lap these guys log, we're getting a little bit further and further away from the point that the time is going to be relevant. Remember the fact I said on, just when this run started, that our longest run that we had was about 40 laps? We're about 40 laps into this run at the moment, so we're starting to match that green flag run that we had earlier on. And in terms of the time to go, you're going to see we've not burned much time off at all. It's only been 15 minutes since actually less than 15 minutes since we've hit that sort of hour to go mark, and we've burned off such a huge percentage of the laps. We're probably going to have to, the only way I think we're going to see that timer probably come into play at this point is if we stack up a bunch of yellows again, which we've already seen here tonight, so it is still very possible, but I think less and less likely every time they go around.
Well, my timing screen's now showing me that we are going to hit the 250 mark because it's gone back to a lap counter, and it's not showing me how long we have left in this race. So it's showing that maybe this green flag run is going to pull us back just that little bit. These guys are about 45. It's been 45 laps since everyone came down onto the pit lane. So in the next 30 to 35 laps, we're going to see everyone have another visit. Whether that will be under green flag conditions, we will have to wait and see. Can't see anyone pitting under green flag for the sake of it unless they really have to, Randy, because it's going to cost them a lot of time. And actually, I'm looking at the timing screens. It's going to cost them 2 laps when it comes to the overall position.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 and potentially even pushing nearly 3. It is a lot of laps that you lose pitting under green flag here at Iowa. So I don't think you're going to want to do it on lap 170 because, of course, that's sort of the potential point you could do a full run. I think you may want to split it a little bit more even. I don't think you want to necessarily go a full 80 laps on this set of tires either and push you out to about lap number 200. I think if you go lap number 180, lap number 185, I think that's going to be a good middle ground, making about 60, 70 laps between each run. I think that'll be a good point. But then again, you do that, you're also nearing the point, Jack, that it's probably just worth it just to sort of run those tires out for the rest of that run as well. I could easily see the logic of, you know what, let's just burn all the fuel in this tank right now and save having to come down pit road until as late as possible with as many yellows as we've had today.
And I can't see anyone really doing the double stint, as they so call it, in endurance racing on these tyres. The track temperature's too high. You aren't going to want to be running them after this fuel stint. We've got side by side for 10th position on the racetrack. That's between Andrew Adair Saunders and Caleb Weekly. And Caleb Weekly just getting the move done. But Andrew Adair Saunders looking to the bottom side as they head themselves into 1 and 2, fighting back. Still wants to be inside that top 10.
Oh, and a little bit of a snap moment for Andrew Adair Saunders up the inside there of the 10 car, but able to hold on to that relatively nicely, I think. So able to just keep that somewhat scary moment he's had to deal with just in check as he continues fighting with the 10 car of Caleb Weekly.
And it looks as though Caleb may have just about got the move done. There isn't much more I don't think that Andrew Adair Saunders can do unless Weekly makes a mistake. Adair Saunders getting very high on the racetrack. I think there may have been contact with the safer barrier out of 4. And as he head himself across the timing stripe. Another battle that I'm seeing out on the circuit, which could be interesting to look at, Randy. I think Jamie Wilson has managed to sneak past Team Wilson Yamey.
Yeah, he has. He's gotten his way up into 6, has the driver, the number 87 car. So Jamie's done quite well this event for, I think, this coming in for a one-off, especially for such a tight oval like this. You might, traditionally expect the oval specialist to do really well at around one of these short ovals, but I think Jamie has really kind of punched above his weight in what's been available to him in this one, as he currently runs 6th there on the racetrack from where he started in 14th.
And that's a long way down to Jamie's start in the mid-pack, and he's worked his way up, almost knocking on the door of the top 5. However, he's about 3 seconds behind the driver of Logykal in the 77. As Matt Moeller, he's running behind these guys. You can just see him in the back of the picture shot, running down 8th position. Another good day for the 29 as well, Randy. He started 18th, currently running 8th, up 10 positions.
Yeah, he's up 10, so it's been a fantastic day here for the 29 as well, as he currently has himself. I think he's the car that's causing all the smoke for some reason. I haven't quite figured out why.
I think he's having a few technical issues that are blipping him in and out. And I think every time it's blipping him in and out, it's actually causing wheel spin. iRacing's picking it up as wheel spin. So an interesting dynamic there for Matt Molnar. As we look back towards this battle for 2nd position, the 2 Logykal Vortex cars of Lucas Laville and Robert Grosser. Lucas Laville as well, looking very strong at the start of this one. Looking maybe to get himself a win. Would have been his first win since 2017, if I remember correctly, for the Frenchman.
Yeah, and it's been a couple years, and he wants to get that dry spell kind of done and dusted. It's never great having a dry spell. It's sort of... it kind of kills your confidence and sort of just continues to build and build and build until you eventually get one, and it's like, hooray, and then it's just a monkey on your back. Off your back, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. He didn't win in 2018. Of course, 2018 was dominated by the Brit Henry Bennett, but Bennett hasn't contested much of 2019.
I think he ran Brazil, and that's it, right?
He's ran a few rounds.
Was it Motegi?
He ran Indy. I know he ran Indy and Motegi. I don't think he ran Brazil, so he hasn't run many rounds. I could go and look. But the Brit deciding almost not to defend his championship. I think he might be concentrating on his commitments in the IR18 this year more than anything. And get him some good results in the newer Indycar, because of course this car and the newer one, they are 2 very different beasts, Randy.
Yeah, they're made by the same chassis manufacturer, but the way the downforce works, the downforce is really, I think, the big thing. Is this car is going to have a lot more rear aero, especially in the oval trim. Granted, short ovals is running more of the road course trim, so it's going to be a little bit more similar, but not doesn't have as much aero on it and is overall more of a handful. This car, you can just tell by the way that these guys are kind of stacked up. The car doesn't respond to this car doesn't respond to dirty air quite the way that the old IndyCar, or excuse me, the new IndyCars do. Much worse in terms of aero push in the new cars. That said, we're 33 laps out from where we went in the 2017 race and how far we went in that race, Jack. So we're at the point now that we are going to go further than 2017, 100%.
And there are 17 laps remaining in the race. I'm seeing a couple of drivers fall down through the field.
There's 70 laps remaining in the race. He said 17.
Ah, my brain's going mad.
Yes.
Yeah, 70 laps remaining, pardon me. It was Andrew Adair Saunders after an 88 lap stint. After an 87 has brought themselves down onto pit road. Joni Kainen as well, deciding that he's going to make a green flag pit stop with 69 laps remaining in the event. A risky strategy by the 77, but if we now get a caution, it's going to mean that oh no, hang on, he's going to be 2 laps down.
Yeah.
Ignore me. Joni Kainen is going to go 2 laps down, and he's got to bank on everyone else making a green flag pit stop now to bring him back into this race. If we get a caution, Joni Kainen is in big trouble.
Well, we went back to green flag racing on this restart, working lap number 118. We're currently working lap 182. So somewhat splitting the difference here is Joni Kainen, and he hasn't gone the full 80 laps that we think is the window. And he's going to come out after a full 10.2 second pit stop. So full tires, full fuel there for the driver of Joni Kainen, and no one else has opted to come down pit road just yet. And you'll actually see he's basically going to come out just behind the group he was fighting with. There'll be a couple lap cars in the background behind as well, but he's only going to be a couple corners back.
And he has gone 2 laps down, dropped down to 12th in the standings. So for Joni Kainen, even if he does get a wave around this, only going to get him back onto 1 lap down if we now get a caution. And this is going to be the risky time for the 77. He's got to hold his breath and hope something goes wrong. For everyone else, this is now the point where they hope that they get a caution, because this is where they need to start thinking about pit stops. We've seen drivers running out to about 88, 89 laps. We know that these guys maybe can hit 90 with some fuel saving. The likes of Lucas Seville and Robert Grosser, who've been sat behind Josh Chin for almost since the restart. They're going to have saved just that little bit more fuel than Josh has, Randy. So they could go a lap longer and maybe try and go for the overcut in the next round of pit stops.
Yeah, you are right. You could maybe go for the overcut here, but I think the way the tires have burned up, I feel like I prefer the undercut. To be honest, I mean, you look right now, Lucas Seville, he just did an 18.9. Keep in mind they're trapped in some traffic, but really their times aren't that much different from what they were doing before they hit that lap car of Carson Brody. They've lost about half a second in terms of the lap time, so I think I prefer the undercut. And we're going to see Joni Kainen actually. I think he's going to get more than clear of these guys if they have to come down pit road cleanly. He's already, I mean, look at the amount of time he's already reeled in as Joni Kainen, and he was nearly a full straightaway back. Now he's only about 20 car lengths back, so he can see that gap getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's going to be right on top of those guys in just a couple of moments. He's reeled in a huge advantage just from coming down pit road that little bit early.
So for Joni Kainen, this could play into his hands, and if the guys ahead of him have lost enough time, it is possible that he could make his way a little bit further up the standings. I'm seeing some battling for the 13th position going on between the 12 and the 36. Andrew Adair Saunders and Todd Novosad, they both counted down onto pit lane just 8 laps ago. And they're going side by side, Randy, into turn numbers 1 and 2.
And remember, this was the duo that actually stayed out at the last restart. So they're still managed to keep themselves nose to tail and running together on very similar strategies. They stay side by side as they work here, as just out in front of them. You can see at the bottom of your screens for a moment, he kind of just made a cameo appearance in the bottom left. Joni Kainen has caught the tail end of the group he was fighting, and he's starting to work around them and break up this trio.
He's actually got himself past Robert Grosser, so he's got himself onto just 1 lap down on Robert Grosser. He's only 30, just trying to find it on the timing screens. He's not that far behind. 37, 38 seconds back in total time from Lucas Seville as he heads himself to the bottom side of the racetrack in the 77. Lucas Seville going to be stuck to the high line. Joni Kainen is going to deal with the Frenchman, and now he's going to go down the inside of Josh Chin. So new tyres on the 77, old tyres on the 93. No competition. Joni Kainen is going to get past all of them.
Yeah, none of them really committing to pit road just yet either. You don't see any of them who have looked to the inside coming off that back straightaway. By the way, we haven't talked about it. Matt Cook, 4.6 seconds up the road.
Yeah, he's just a little bit up the road
checked
from
out.
these guys. Yeah,
He's opened up 2/10.
He's sure he's just not in a different continent. He's got that much of a gap. No one can touch him. I mean, last time
he's nearly gone from the racetrack in Iowa to the cornfields. And Josh, bit of an incident, and they just about hold that, but there is contact, and Josh is going to go around.
This is yellow flag. This is not what Yoni kind of want because he's still 2 laps down on the leader. So everyone's now going to be able to make a pit stop, and Yoni Kainen is going to be in big trouble. Replay up on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. You can see to the inside. Lucas Laville goes on the 2 touch as they head through 1 and 2. Touch again. Had that second contact not happened, we wouldn't now be under caution. It's not the first contact that caused it. It was the second one.
And I'm just trying to figure out exactly what happened. I know for a fact that Lucas gets the run and gets up the inside here, but I think Josh comes down a little bit. I think that's the only way. Like, I don't know. Josh is I think always going to be saying that Lucas turned in late, but I actually think Josh sort of turned in a little bit early and cut across the nose of Laville just that little bit.
And as everyone now decides to make their pit stop, this is crunch time. Because now we can see how much time the likes of Yoni Kainen, who have already made their green flag stop, will make up. Has he actually been knocked out of this race completely? We will have to wait and see. Matt Cook's pretty comfortable in the race off pit lane. It's going to be between Robert Gross and Lucas Laville as to who gets off for second position. Jamie Wilson has now managed to make it up into 4th, Randy, just before the round of pit stops. So Matt Cook back out and away, 8.1 second stop. I think Lucas Laville's got out ahead of Robert Gross. He has indeed. So the top 3 before we hit the caution period, they're going to stay in the same order.
And Josh Shin's going to get back out there and roll, so I don't think there'll be serious damage on this 93 car. It was a long stop. He's gotten a new nose, and if you look on the right-hand side, you can see very, very clearly there is some side pod damage to the right-hand side of that car. Does not seem to be side pod damage on the left, though, so it's new nose for sure for the number 93 car. The question is going to be, what is the speed going to be like for Josh Shin when we eventually go back to green flag racing? That's going to be the big question mark, I think, for him.
And that is going to be the big question mark. Caleb Weekey, Carson Brodby going to be stopping on this lap, along with Jonathan Diggs and Johnny Garrett. So 4 more drivers deciding to make their next round of pit stops. I'm just looking, everyone now has made their final stop after this lap around the racetrack. We're almost closing in on that 50 to go mark now, Randy. The heart rates are going to start to elevate. Everyone's going to start feeling that little bit more anxious about the remainder of this race, but one big bit of news that we have to talk about, Yoni Kainen is going to get a wave around, but he's still 1 lap down on Matt Cook, and he will not get that lap back under caution.
Yeah, that's the risk with doing the undercut, especially at these shorter tracks, is that if you know, a lot of the other bigger tracks, it's potentially a race under because you go down a full lap, but you can still, if you then get a caution, you can at least take the wave around and get yourself back on the lead lap. Here, now you basically have to hope this race goes about 20 laps, hope the leaders pit, and then you have to get another wave around, and then at which point you then have to hope that you get another quick caution that you can come down, take the tires on pit road, and then get out there on fresh tires. But for Yoni Kainen, who's having such a strong day, pretty much the end of his day at this point.
Yeah, he was looking very strong up in the top 5. Always is the 77, looking to be competing for a podium, but as well, this also means that Matt Cook has lost his advantage up at the front of the field. So the number 6, he pulled out nearly 5 seconds on that green flag run. A very long green flag run there, Randy, almost 100 laps. It was about 80, I think it was about 75, 80 laps that we ran there under green flag conditions. And he's got all that to do then in the remaining 50.
Now the question is, though, does it even matter, though? Because we saw the pace advantage that Matt had, to even open up that huge gap. Lucas Laville is going to be there, but is it going to be close enough, and is it going to be relevant enough for him to really even be under threat? Because Lucas is going to have to somehow, in the pit sequence, he would have had to find nearly 2 tenths per lap to keep up with what that 6 car was able to throw down.
As the 5 drivers ahead of Matt Cook get their wave around and the lights go off on the iRacing pace car. We'll go back to green flag running at the Iowa Speedway with 49 laps remaining.
And 30 minutes. If we stack yellows, that could actually be relevant.
Yes, that could. It's going to be a longer race than before, I predict. Obviously, we ran 2:13 laps in 2017. We're going to run...
Well, it's about a minute and a lap under caution, so...
Yes, it's about a minute and a lap under caution. It could be close if we start stacking them up. If we run to green from here, we're going to be done in the next 15 minutes, I think. Pace car. Down onto pit lane. Matt Cook as we ride on board for RaceSpot TV fan immersion. Back to green at Iowa. The 93 heads himself a little bit further up the order. You can see him just in the background getting himself past. I believe that may have been a back marker. It was indeed. Still having to run that high line. That is not a back marker. That's Timo Yemi in the 43. Pardon me. So Josh Chin back up to 4th position. Now on the recovery drive from that incident with the driver of Lucas Laville. And he can now see ahead of him the 2 Logical Vortex sim racing cars.
Yeah, he's already gotten past one of them, but now he's got to get to the 2 slightly quicker ones. Timo hasn't quite had the pace of Robert and Lucas thus far this race, and Timo's currently trapped in a Team Chimera sandwich at the moment, but Lucas Laville next in line for Joshua Chen. Robert Grosser and Lucas Laville, by the way. Lucas hasn't had the pace, and Grosser has inherited that 2nd spot, and Matt's out to about a half a second lead. That said, Robert was quicker last trip through around the racetrack.
Yeah, 1/10 of a second quicker was Robert than Matt Cook last time around in 2nd position. Lucas Laville looks to have cycled himself back to 3rd as further behind. Timo Yemi to the bottom side of the racetrack on Josh Chin. And he's got the move done. So Logical Vortex currently running 2, 3, and 4. But the 93 is not going to give up, especially with Jamie Wilson, his teammate sitting in the background, waiting to see if he can help Josh Chin. This is now going to be a battle of the teams, I think, for 2nd position. No one can touch Matt Cook, and as I say that, fastest lap of the race for Robert Grosser. The number 3 machine has found something in these closing 50 laps of the motor race.
Gaps down to 0.3 of a second. Robert Grosser, we've not seen him really have sort of race-winning pace thus far all year, and now he may find it when it counts. He goes to a 4.29, only 4 thousandths off the fastest lap that he just did the previous time through. So that number 3 car with the Lionheart and Logical branding on the side pod is really pushing as hard as he can to try to get there. He goes even quicker nearly, not on the lap counter, but look at how much time he's brought into the 6 of Matt Cook. Maybe some adjustments while they were down on pit road, but Robert Grosser has pace.
Maybe Robert Grosser could be looking at his first win of the 2019 season for the number 3 machine. He's looked good all year. Logical Vortex struggled last year. They didn't have a great 2018 season. They've done a lot of work over the winter, got some good drivers on board, and in 2019 they really have come back fighting, and that's shown in the results. Robert Grosser still sticking to a slightly higher line than Matt Cook. And behind, the driver of Jamie Wilson's got ahead of the driver of Josh Chin. Lucas Laville has cycled himself back to 6th on the racetrack, meaning that Timo Yemi in the 43 is now 3rd. So maybe Jamie Wilson now dragging that driver of Joshua Chin up towards the front of the field.
Maybe just a little bit. Not sure what has actually happened to Josh for Jamie to end up being able to pick that spot up, but they're going to, I think, probably follow each other to try to get to at least the likes of Timo, because the duo of Grosser and Cook have opened up a 1.5 second lead over the rest of the group.
And they have indeed opened up a gap over everyone else. They've run away. It's a little bit like a breakaway from a peloton in a cycle race. As the leaders head themselves into turn number 1 and 2, everyone behind just still running single file. We've got 16 runners left out on the racetrack. The last one being Johnny Gorette, 4 laps down. So everyone having a pretty good race as we ride on board with that number 6. Looking back towards the number 3. across the timing stripe we will go. 36 laps remain in the Iowa 250.
And you can see riding on board with Matt Cook, it seems like Grosser is able to get a better run off the corner every single time, but Matt is just better on entry. Actually, this time, Robert's able to keep about even with Matt on the turn-in point through the center of the corner. But look at the speed advantage for Robert as they run down in towards turn 1. But right here, I think because of the dirty air, Robert can't quite turn in as aggressively in towards 1, and he loses just a little bit of ground every time because of that. He's able to reel it back in, though, and it's ending up about even, with the gap sort of fluctuating by about 0.02 every single lap.
As they come across the line, pretty much tick for tack on lap times that time. And still quicker than everyone else out on the racetrack. Just by that little bit of these leading two. An X3 behind, Jamie Wilson and Joshua Chin. They've all pulled away from Lucas Seville. Lucas Seville currently actually battling with Caleb Weekly, but Weekly is a lap down. So Lucas Seville is currently in 6th. The car behind him is in 7th, but he's got a lap to the good on the car behind. So Lucas Seville is probably feeling pretty safe in 6th position at the moment, but he knows he can be further up the field.
I think that incident between Lucas Seville and Josh Chin, I think we initially expected Josh Chin to really be the loser there, but I think it's actually been the two of Lucas Seville. I wonder if he's just sort of gotten some irreparable damage. We'll take a look, and there is some side pod damage to the right-hand side of that car, so there is definitely some damage for sure, as well as you can kind of see it across the nose as well. But, you know, whether or not that's the reason or if it's been a bad maybe adjustment for Lucas Seville, because I think all of the Vortex cars would have made an adjustment on pit road, because Robert Grosser has definitely found speed than what he had before the pit stop sequence. That said, we're starting to get some laps on the tires, and Grosser's starting to consistently fall back from the 6.
We've been about 20 laps under green flag conditions. We've got 30 laps remaining in the Lionheart Iowa 250 for round number 7 of the 2019 Classic IndyCar Series. And for these drivers, it's going to be the final 10-15 minutes if we run under green flag to the checkered here, Randy. And it's going to be those final push, that final challenge to try and get themselves further up the order. And in fact, actually, Joshua Chin, he's dropped off the back of Jamie Wilson now in 4th position, as Jamie and Wilson have both sort of run away with it and left Chin behind.
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of damage there for Josh Chin as well, but I think as the tires have kind of gotten burned off, he's probably sort of just lost the speed in that race car just that little bit. But you know, not a great situation for Josh, but, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world for him coming home in that 5th spot. I will say he may have to potentially commit Sudoku finishing behind Jamie here at Iowa.
And I think that would be disappointing. Jamie making his debut in the series. Josh Chin, a regular since last year.
It's always disappointing when you finish behind Jamie.
Yeah, well, you have a point there, Randy. As I've lost my train of thought now.
We haven't made fun of him. We could just talk about how Jamie's bad.
I mean, you can talk about him because you know him far better than I do.
No, I'm not gonna. I won't rag on Jamie too much. He's done quite well here, and especially be running 4th. Has been actually quite well for him thus far. He's trying to rein in Timo Yemi, but that gap sort of just going back and forth, in and out, similar to this one between the 6 and the 3, which is actually, well, this is more consistently just opening up in favor of the 6 car. I think Robert Grosser, if we get another restart and these guys get tires, I think Robert's quicker through about the first 15 laps of a run. So if we get a restart, things are going to get mighty interesting, but I think if we stay green, it's all in the hands of Matt Cook.
Yeah, Matt Cook has got the advantage. It's about half of a tenth of a second per lap at the moment. Advantage over the 2, and it's the same as they come across the line. Matt Cook in 18.697 last time by, Robert Grosser in 18.755. But Grosser's still got the fastest lap of the race. So that's, even if he does finish 2nd, still a bit of glory to take away here at Iowa for the number 3 machine. They're still pulling away though from 3rd and 4th position, as Jamie Wilson has now put over a 2nd on the driver of Josh Chin.
Yeah, still opening that gap up, and I really do think that's what it is between that 93 and the 2 car, because you've seen them both. Those are the 2 cars involved in the incident, and they've both just sort of lost pace at the same time. I think they likely either they have something on the car that's bent that's probably eating up one of the tires a little bit more than it was before. Actually, Josh makes a very casual clip of the apron there through 1 and 2 and is able to hold on to that. I'm sure that was a lot of fun to hang on and experience, but just a little bit of damage probably eating the tires up for those guys that at least in the case of Josh, he was able to deal with for the first handful of laps, but then his tires just probably started to go away about 5 laps earlier than everyone else's did. And we've seen a somewhat similar experience with Lucas, but he didn't have the pace basically immediately.
Battle for 7th and 8th position. The first of the drivers 1 lap down on your leader. The drivers are Caleb Weekly, Carson Brodby and Joni Kynan. Kynan caught out by a green flag pit stop. That's put him back. But Caleb Weekly and Carson Brodby are not making it easy for him to get himself further up the order. Kynan's dealt with Brodby as he headed through 1 and 2. Side by side for a couple of laps there, Randy. And he's now eyeing up a move on the 10.
Yeah, so these guys starting to get a little bit racy here, and especially here for Joni Kynan, still 1 lap down. He wants at least the honors of being the best car 1 lap down with the way this has really ran out. And he's all over the 10 car of Caleb Weekly here inside of the final 20 laps to go. And I think at this point, we can basically say the timer is irrelevant. We are finishing this thing on laps, and Joni Kynan has a run.
He does, down to the inside in turns number 1 and 2. The 77 will go on the 10. As they head themselves into 3 and 4, the 10 having a slightly better run off of the corner. And it just looks as though Joni Kynan wasn't able to get it done through 3 and 4. And Caleb Weekly actually holding that off the exit of 4. A good run he got into turn number 1, but he is running a slightly higher line than Kynan. He's going to come down. There's almost contact between the 2. Off of turn number 2 they go. These guys need to be careful. They don't want to be causing a caution at the late stage of this event and taking themselves out of the race.
I think if you're Robert Grosser, you're going to be saying something other, though. You're going to say, come on, guys, throw some haymakers as they're tight again on your entry into 1, because Robert Grosser needs that restart. We'll keep the camera focused here, though, inside the final 15 laps. We have another gap that's coming down. Jamie Wilson is reeling in Timo Isinniemi by about a half a tenth a lap.
And as Jamie and Timo are fighting in these closing stages, got to be careful. They haven't got much more time to decide which way this race will go. 13 laps as they cross the stripe. It's going to be about 4 or 5 minutes if we stay green. Probably even less than that. Joni Kynan's got himself, just attempted to get himself past Caleb Weekly as we ride on board. And he might have just about got it into turn of 1. Really struggling to get the move done in that 77 is Kynan. His tyres, however, are 15 laps older than those of Caleb Weekly, so maybe struggling with the grip.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing with him having, of course, running that sort of early strategy. He wouldn't have been able to come down pit road at the last stop to get the wave around. He just about had the position cleared, but look at that, the 10 car just maintained so much pace coming off the corner that there's not much that they can do about it. And it's going to be 11 to go, basically 10 and a half to go for Matt Cook.
And that is indeed the case for Matt Cook. Closing stage of this event, across the stripe he will come. 10 laps remain in the Lionheart Iowa 250, the 7th round of the 2019 Classic Indycar Series. As we look forward to Jamie Wilson and Timo Isinniemi, this is the battle for 3rd position, the last step on the podium. If Jamie Wilson could get a podium on his debut rally, that would be a brilliant result for the Brit.
Yeah, he'd be, I think, more than happy with that as he works his way through, but the gap is sort of equalized. Every time Jamie reels a little bit of time in towards Timo's able to just about stretch that out, so maybe needs a caution, a little bit of help with Jamie Wilson, or maybe some lap traffic, but still, I think Jamie's trying to chase him down, but he's focused on at least not throwing this one away.
And that's what he needs to be focused on. Making sure he can be at the end, because 4th position is still a very strong run for the 87. Caleb Weekly, we've got a yellow. Caleb Weekly's round at turn number 1. Heavy damage. Was there contact? Yes, there was.
Heavy damage on the 10 car. The 77 of Joni Kynan would have been involved. And what happened here? It would have happened, I think, here in towards turn 1. and they just sort of come together. We've seen that incident a lot at turn 1, haven't we, where guys are running side by side and eventually they go in towards one and either someone turns in early or someone doesn't turn in, or a slight misunderstanding there. That's about, I think, the 4th or 5th time we've seen that accident today.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's an incident which we have seen just a few times. And what's going to be interesting now, we've got 6 laps remaining at the stripe. Are we going to see a 1-lap shootout, or are we going to finish this race under yellow?
No, we'll run this to the end for sure. I think we're going to get a restart 100%. The question's going to be is, do you come down and take tires? Because there's only 6 cars on the lead lap, 2 of which, Josh Chin and Lucas Seville, have some pretty heavy damage that seems to be affecting their pace. I think if you're Jamie Wilson, Timo Isiniemi, I think there's very valid reason here to consider coming down and getting new tires, because you get waved around the lap cars, right? Lap cars start behind you.
Yes, the first car on it'll be the leader who is the first car to the green. Yes, there's actually
no. What I mean is, if you're behind the leader, so let's say you're Jamie Wilson. Let's say Jamie comes down, takes tires. Does he get waved past the lap traffic?
I don't know. I can't remember. Because I can't remember the last time we had a situation like this. Josh Chin and Lucas Leville have both come down to get new tyres. They've both made a pit stop.
Did they?
Yes. Jamie Wilson, Josh Chin, and Lucas Leville have all made a pit stop. So if these guys get waved... See, this could be interesting, because this could bring the likes of Untitled back onto the lead lap if they do indeed get waved past the pace car.
Well, no. It's not a matter of the lap traffic getting waved past the pace car. It's a matter of Jamie, Josh, and Lucas getting waved past the lap traffic.
No, I don't think they do. I can't quite remember, so don't quote me on that.
How many cars do they have? So 1, 2, 3...
It's about 13 cars.
4, 5... Ooh, that's a lot of cars. That's a lot of pace.
It's about... I think it might be 10... No, sorry. 8 cars. 8, 9 cars that they've got to get past.
So according to Lionheart Racing Series in the YouTube chat, under 10 to go, lap cars get cycled to the back by the sim.
Ah, right, okay. So, because
thank you, Lionheart Indycar Series. Yeah. I'm glad you know more about this series than we do.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, you'd think I'd know about this stuff. Well, you've taught me something today. Thank you very much, Lionheart. Of course, sponsoring today's Iowa 250. So we will see. This is actually now going to be really interesting, Randy, because we've got 3 cars on new tyres. 3 cars on tyres which are 50 laps old on a 50-degree track.
Jamie could be in for a win here.
Jamie, Josh, or Lucas could be in for a win.
I don't know about Josh or Lucas. Josh and Lucas both have heavy damage, so I don't know if they're actually going to be able to keep up here. But
Jamie's got a chance.
Yeah, I think Jamie has a chance. Matt, Robert, and Timo. I don't think Timo has the pace. Robert, I know, was quick after the last restart, but that was on new tires. Now on old tires, it's going to be heavy advantage, I think, in favor of the 6. You also, of course, have the point that everyone's on old tires. We're coming to a restart. We could immediately see the race end when someone just basically spins up the rear tires and finds the wall.
That is also possible. I mean, we have guys out there who are on tires which are 60, 65 laps old. So as we come across the line, we're going to have 3 to go. Now, if the lights go off this time, we're going to have a 2-lap run to the finish. If they go off next time by, we're going to have a 1-lap run to the finish.
Josh, Jamie, and Lucas are getting waved by.
Yeah, so everyone's getting pushed to the back of the field, and the lights are off on the pace car, so we're going to have a 2-lap shootout to finish this race. Randy, this is about to get extremely exciting.
Yeah, this is about to get really crazy, and I don't know what to expect, because you have Jamie, who's, like you said, I don't know if he's going to make a regular appearances in this series or not due to the time zone difference being in the UK. On new tires, doing a one-off. You have the 3 in front that have been quick but are on old tires, and you have 2 damaged cars behind on new tires as well. 2 laps to go, Jack, and it's your call from here.
And it is indeed 2 laps remaining. The Lionheart Iowa 250 is going to come down to whether new tyres can prevail over old. Matt Cook will lead around to the green flag. And we are back under green flag racing at Iowa. A good start for Matt Cook. Team Yemi and Robert Grosser, but watch from behind for Jamie Wilson, Josh Jen and Lucas Laville. They are on the new tyres. They have new grip, new rubber, and they will be very fast in these opening stages. Josh Jen gaining on Jamie Wilson, the two teammates, maybe going to go side by side through 3 and 4. Across the stripe they will come this time. White flag will fly, 1 lap to go here at Iowa. And it looks as though the top 3 are looking comfortable, but behind for 4th position, Chin looking to the outside through 1. High will go Team Yemi. Through the inside will go Jamie Wilson. Wilson's going to get himself up on the podium in the final 2 corners, but Matt Cook dominated for the last 80 laps, and he will win at Iowa. Robert Grosser second, and Jamie Wilson getting a brilliant podium on his Classic IndyCar Series debut, because Team Yemi just ran out of grip on the final lap. Randy, what a finish.
Yeah, that was I think the fight we were expecting from those guys, coming from those back couple of positions, working their way forward. Both Jamie and Josh able to get around Timo. Lucas not quite having the grip, but Matt Cook, the first half of the race, we knew he was quick, Jack, but I don't think anyone picked up that the 6 car had the dominating pace he did until he was able to chase down Josh Chin with about 100 laps to go, drive around him, and just blitz away from the field twice.
And well, just to prove how quick those new tyres were once they got up to temperature and up to pressure in the final 2 laps, Jamie Wilson set the fastest lap of the race on the final lap. He went a 10th quicker than Robert Grosser. And a 10th here, Randy, is like a second at somewhere like Le Mans. It's so much time.
Yeah.
And for Jamie Wilson, he is definitely going to be happy with that run today.
Yeah, I'd reckon he's going to be just about as happy as this car is right now, burning him down on start finish of Matt Cook. I think Jamie's going to be more than pleased with himself after this one.
And well, we have completed 250 laps of racing, 37 more than we managed last time we came here in 2007. We haven't the time limit. And it was a dominating run in the final 80 laps of the race for Matt Cook. He started 15th, had a really poor qualifying, but he made his way through the pack, got himself to the front, and he just dominated from there. Robert Grosser just missing out on his first win for 2019. He's going to come home in second, and on his Classic IndyCar debut, beating his teammate, is Jamie Wilson in the 87 in third. Josh Chin going to come home in fourth. Team Yemi going to round out the top 5. Lucas Laville going to be sixth, the last runner on the lead lap. At the end, your top 6 covered by just under 1.6 seconds. Yoni Kine and Carson Brophy, Hans Pitkin, Zach Sahar is going to round out the top 10. 11th is going to be Josh Baird. 12th is going to be Todd Novosad. Andrew Adair Saunders finishes 13th. Jonathan Diggs 14th. And Caleb Wheatley is going to be 8 laps down in 15th. Non-finishers is going to be Matt Moeller, Marshall Stanley, Nate Michael, Logan Simmons, Andrew Aiken, Vesicula Ollier, Mike Gallagher, Andrew Wood, and Tristan Hauser, who we lost on just the second lap of today's motor race. We're going to step for just a few minutes on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll be back with post-race coverage from the Lionheart, Iowa Indy 250.
This is Jim Beaver, voice of the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series. Introducing Pro 2 and Pro 4 trucks on iRacing. Game on!
The Iowa Indy 250 is brought to you by the Lionheart Racing Series. The Lionheart Racing Series was founded on the 1st of July 2014 and is the premier fixed IndyCar and Lotus 79 league on iRacing. Competition, commitment and excitement. That is what the Lionheart Racing Series is all about. And for more information, you can head yourselves over to lionheartracingseries.com. You can also follow their IndyCar series on Wednesdays and their Retro series on Thursdays, all live here on the iRacing Esports Network. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Iowa Speedway. We've just in round 7 of the 2019 Classic IndyCar Series, a race which Matt Cook started in the midfield but worked his way to the front and completed 250 laps in a time of 1 hour and 49 minutes. He hasn't been able to catch up with us for an interview, so we're going to start off by saying hello to second position, and that's Mr. Robert Grosser. Robert, first of all, congratulations on the second position today. A great run for you and Logical Vortex in general. 3 cars in the top 6 and on the lead lap. You were looking pretty spicy in that second to last green flag run, looking like you were maybe trying to put a move on Matt down the inside into one of the corners.
Yeah, first of all, thanks, and congrats also to Matt for this well-deserved win. Yeah, I had a restart. I had a good car early in the run. I thought maybe I can try something, but there was really not a very good chance other than trying something really stupid maybe, which I didn't want. So then, yeah, I don't know, after 10, 15 laps, then Matt really gained momentum and was, unfortunately for me, driving away. So I could I could do nothing to try another pass or anything like that.
And of course, today it's a tricky oval, less than a mile, very high speed as well. The average speed I think is about 270, 280 kilometers an hour. We're going to Pocono next time out, 400-mile race, the second race in the Triple Crown. A very different kind of oval. Are you hoping to have the same kind of pace for both you and the whole Logical Vortex squad there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we had here was quite promising. I mean, at times there was really the Vortex train running, all of us running together, also in qualifying. So I really hope we can do that again in Pocono, and yeah, of course we have to catch up. Otherwise, Matt is running away in the point standings, and then also never forget Josh Chin. He also is very good in the points, so we really have to, and I think we can also.
And obviously a good strong run here for you today. Unlucky for Lucas in the closing stages. He got tangled together with, I think it was Josh Chin in the closing 50, 60 laps. It sort of pushed him out of the challenge for the top 3. And some good running as well from Untitled, and he got caught out from the pit stops. He made a green flag pit stop while you all pitted that last time under caution. Were you ever worried about that 77 being particularly strong all day long?
Oh, absolutely. He was showing a very strong pace all race long, especially also late in the runs when we had these green flag runs. And so I was really a bit concerned, and he was definitely someone we had an eye on, because he could have definitely challenged us.
And obviously, before we go and let you celebrate with your Logical team, who would you like to give a shout out to today here at Iowa?
Yeah, first of all, to you guys for doing another great broadcast for the series. Thanks. Then to my teammates for doing the practicing during all week, preparing the car. I want to give out also a shout out to Matt Cook, who was really supportive in these free practice sessions, hinting me into some direction, which really contributed to Vortex having such a strong car. And finally, a big shout out to the Lionheart series, Jorga and Zaldo. Thanks for all your support for the Classic IndyCar series. Thanks a lot.
Well, there's Robert Grosser coming home in second position today. Well, Matt Cook has been able to grace us, so we're going to catch up with him now in victory lane. Matt, congratulations. Brilliant win for you today. But first of all, take us through what went wrong in qualifying. You just couldn't find the pace on those 2 laps.
Yeah, that was actually my out lap that I qualified under. So I was running the high line all the way around there, but during the actual flying lap, unfortunately, maybe I just overdid it a tiny bit, ran the car a little bit too loose, but it snapped off turn 4, so went right around, and that ended the run there. But fortunately, I got the other lap in, so I still started somewhere in the field.
And of course, obviously, with a little bit of traffic on some of those restarts, you had that advantage of what the car does in dirty air. You know how differently it handles as to when it was out in clean air. Did that help you going forwards in the remaining part of the race? Obviously, we saw you run pretty much clean out the front for the remaining 80, 90 laps of this event.
Yeah, learning that it really definitely helped a lot. I mean, the track temperatures were, up at 123, 124 degrees Fahrenheit. So, I mean, like it was getting pretty rough out there in terms of tire wear and just balance of the car. So, fortunately, I was able to kind of find a rhythm early on in the race, and that definitely helped push me up and through. Although I wasn't quite prepared for Josh trying to get by him. That was a lot closer for a good chunk of time there, and the rear end definitely was about to give out on me, but fortunately got a little bit of space.
And I'm just looking at the points. You were 45 points ahead of Josh Chin coming into today. You're going to take away the full cluster of points for being the race winner. Josh not having an amazing day, finishing down in 4th. So you've extended your lead of the championship going into Pocono, the next round of the Triple Crown. And well, if you win the next round of the Triple Crown, because I believe you're probably about to correct me if I'm wrong, you won the first one, you could take away the second one, which would basically put you right at the front, and you've not only then won the Triple Crown, but you're looking really feisty as we head into the summer break for coming back and sealing up this championship.
First one would actually go to Josh on that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Unfortunately, I had a road incident and spun it, so otherwise I might have been in contention, but I mean, Pocono is definitely one of my favorite tracks, although we are going to the updated version, so the current series, and that's going to make things significantly different. Visibility's down, and everyone's going to be kind of on the same playing field here, so it's really going to come down to the effort that people put in, but I'm feeling pretty confident overall. Josh can easily come back, but it's nice to have a little bit more breathing room and kind of take things from there.
Well, Matt, the stage is yours. Who would you like to give a shout out to today for your race win?
Definitely a big shout out to AeroX as usual, Robert and Lucas for doing a great job, and also a shout out to Andrew in particular for the pole position that he had today.
And well, there's Matt Cook. He came home in first position. And Randy, over to you. You've called up with your Team Camaro teammates of Jamie Wilson and Josh Chin.
Indeed, I have, and we're going to do something a little bit different and a little bit dangerous, and that's a tandem interview with me, Jamie, and Josh. And that's dangerous because there's a very high likelihood that myself and Josh compares Jamie to someone in Geneva who talks about watches. But that's beside the point. But Jamie, first to you. You finished third today. I think you have to be semi-pleased with yourself.
I'm very pleased with myself.
You are very loud.
Am I? Oh, sorry.
No, that's I can fix you. Luckily, I'm a producer and I have these things. Anyways, continue talking.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with that. Going into it with virtually no oval experience, certainly in the last couple of years. Throw myself in at the deep end, and I think I did pretty well. I was asking Josh and Andrew, a lot of what the hell do I do in this situation kind of questions now are really helping me out through the whole thing. So yeah, roll on the next one.
And I know that you and I remember we did an Iowa race in the IR18. I believe that was in the Fix series, but that was about 6 months back. For you not being, as much of a regular to these oval tracks, how big of a difference was that sort of IR18 and what we have experienced as well in some of the other short tracks we've run that car? What are the differences between that car and this car on the short tracks?
Yeah, I'm really glad I did that race at the time because so I do have some oval experience, that being the most recent. Prior to that, I used to do a lot of sort of SK modified late model stuff back in
I talked about that during the race.
Yeah, so I was calling on that experience as well, even if it was a bit more foggy. But the IR18, like the biggest difference, I guess, is the aero push. In that you were constantly having to manage it, a lot more kind of. It's more at the forefront of your mind, whereas in this you can kind of just focus on hitting your marks, and the pace will just kind of come. The aero push isn't really significant enough to be a problem, at least around this track. I can't speak for other tracks; I don't have the experience. But but yeah, I mean, it helped that that was a fixed setup race that you and I did. But in this case, I had an amazing setup courtesy of Josh that was pretty much on rails. So. So yeah, I can't wait for the next one.
And how pleased are you that you finished ahead of Josh?
Well,
that has to be the most satisfying bit.
Somewhat, but I know that he had some form of bizarre suspension problem or something. I was at one point there. I was trying not really to race him. I'm conscious of obviously the point situation, and I'm only doing half a season here, so. Pick your battles and all that kind of thing, but it ended up being a problem. So I kind of was forced into taking the position pretty much by the situation. So, but yeah, I've got some bragging rights there I could use for a very short time until he just destroys me in something else.
So moving back to the individual who finished in fourth, and that's Joshua Chin, who we now have on the screen. Josh, Jamie kind of alluded to it. After that incident with Lucas, how badly damaged was the damage on the car? Because it initially seemed like the contact was light, but both you and that 2 car both lost a lot of speed following it, especially after about 10 or 15 laps into that run.
I don't even know if there was that much damage to my end. I know Lucas had a lot. I think when I got back in his right rear, I broke something on his car, but I mean, the speed was gone the run before, and I kind of held up all the Vortex guys, and I feel bad because I think they could have gone and got Matt during that middle run. The speed just wasn't there in the second half, and I don't really know what happened. The track cooled down, and everyone else picked up, and I stayed the same. Jamie picked up too, so I'm a little at a loss as to what happened.
Have you tried getting good?
Yeah, it hasn't really worked. I mean, I'm on a team with you, so...
Yeah, that is very true. That is definitely a relevant point. But we go to Pocono for the 400-mile race. I know that's going to be an important one for you, of course, with the Triple Crown potentially being in play, and as well as the fact that you have the point situation that's slowly kind of starting to spiral almost out of control. What's the plans going into that one? Are you going to try to force Jamie into running that one?
Oh, I think he's already going to be running it, and if not, then he's definitely going to be running it at gunpoint.
And I know, Josh, it seems like every single week, it's not been a great season for you. I mean, it has in the sense that you're second in points and second at wins at the moment as far as this season goes. But there's been so many times that you've been leading and you spun out of the lead or you've hit the wall, and something's really been disappointing to you. Has finishing behind Jamie been the big disappointment of this season?
It's up there. It's right up there with what happened at Indy. I think, Indy was a little bit more disappointing because it was all in my control, and this kind of fell a little bit out with the setup falling apart midway through the race. But, I mean, I'm happy that Jamie finished podium on debut, and that helps a lot in the team championship because we're basically halfway down compared to Aero X right now. They have 14 starts combined compared to 8 for us now. It would have been 7 if not for Jamie. So, I don't know. Hopefully we can at least go win the team championship. That'd be something nice to have.
Sponsor plugs, Jamie, you're first.
I just want to thank Team Chimera and the Team Talent sort of combined family. You guys for doing a great broadcast that I'm sure I'm not going to get upset by any of the comments within, Randy.
No, actually, I legitimately did. I legitimately didn't. You can ask Jack. Jack will confirm. I didn't rip on you, I think, pretty much the whole time.
Do you know what? I don't think throughout the whole thing he ripped into either of you once. I almost did make a comment of, oh, Josh Chin hasn't spun yet, then remember that he'd hit someone. So I didn't.
That is definitely one of the check boxes to go in the Classic IndyCar series for sure.
But no, between us, we weren't ripping into either of you that much. It was pretty much we're going to, especially Josh, we definitely did. Well, there wasn't really much to rip into you about today. You put on a really good drive.
So there you go. Be triggered.
And then just beyond that, I just want to say thanks to the series organisation as well for just letting me join in the first place, because it's not really a sort of mid-season entry kind of thing. But they were kind enough to open the door for me, so thank you very much. It looks like a fantastic, well-run series, so I'm proud to be a part of it.
Josh, you're next.
Yeah, I got to give a shout-out to organizers. I think today was a great race, and I wish it had stayed hotter, but that's out of their control. Thanks again, everyone, Team Talent, Team Chimera. What it did a lot of help late on trying to get the setup right, and I think it definitely helped us. He didn't get the finish that I think he deserved, but you guys were putting on the broadcast, and yeah, it was all around great day, and can't wait for Pocono.
Next interviewee we have up will be the number 2 of Lucas LaVille, who came home in 6th. Jack Stiles has him.
I do indeed. Lucas, first of all, congratulations. Last driver on the lead lap, just a little bit towards the end that you didn't quite have in that car. Even with the new tyres, you couldn't make your way any further up the field.
Well, I had damage. That pretty much sums it up, I guess. I only had one look at the incident with Josh here, and probably could have been smarter and stayed behind before the stop. I thought I could make the move and get in front for the pit stop cycle to be able to be aggressive and try to catch Matt. We touched into one, and I got damage from that, and that was pretty much over for me from that point on.
And of course, looking forward today, you were very strong at the start. You can try and take that forward to Pocono. You've got some experience on an oval, a very different kind of oval is Pocono, but you're going in there with good spirits, knowing that today you had a lot of pace.
I did indeed, and yeah, we shall see at Pocono. A different track, as you said, different mindset, so we shall see. It's in 2 weeks' time, so we will start to work on that early. I still have some work to do to catch up to Matt and Josh in the standings, so I'll get up to work as soon as I can. Yeah.
And obviously, the rest of the championship, you're going to be doing a lot of work over the summer break, getting ready for that second half of the championship and really going in there strong. Maybe not in the contention to win the championship, but a strong top 3 is still very possible.
Yeah, the top 3 I think is what I deserve, even with the incident today and with the 2 DCs the last 2 races. So it's nice to finish for the first time in a month. So yeah, we shall see. Lots of tracks I'm good at in the second part of the season. So you should be able to get some solid results and salvage top 3 for Vortex.
Oh well, Lucas, the floor is yours. Who would you like to give a shout out to today?
Shout out to my teammates at Vortex that helped a lot on the car and to keep my head up after the incident in this race. Big shout out to you guys for the broadcast. I hope it was entertaining as much as it was a nail biter for us all race long. Going from yellow to long green run, and big thanks to all the guys in the league making it so good for us to run and to provide good racing.
Well, Lucas LaVille is going to round out our interviews today, and for us, that is just about all the time that we have. As I'm going to very quickly load my document which tells me which sponsors I need to give a shout out to, because of course the Classic IndyCar Series does not come for free. There are a lot of people behind it. Lucas and Robert, they are the 2 people, the organisers behind it, and also the stewards working behind the scenes on all of the incident reviews post-race. But of course, the title sponsor, Logykal Innovative Engineering, they provided support for all the years that I have been involved in the Classic IndyCar Series and continue to. Next time out, we're going to Pocono, the second round of the Triple Crown. And of course, the Triple Crown brought to you by New Centric Solutions. They will also be bringing you the Indianapolis 500 on the 3rd of November to round out the 2019 season. Edifice Incorporated are supporting the Indianapolis Road race that we saw on May the 12th. And then again on August the 25th, we're going to be heading to Road America. That is going to be brought to you by them. Laguna Seca in October. That's going to be a charity race brought to you by Carol Hatton Breast Cancer Care Centre as part of the Breast Cancer Awareness Campaign during the month of October. And of course, the Lionheart Racing Series have brought you today's race here at Iowa. They will also be providing the championship plaque that they have provided in years past. And of course, the artwork being done by Jorge Anzaldo, the person behind Lionheart Racing Series. From us at RaceSpot TV, I have been Jack Stars. Alongside me has been Randy Chenworth, and as always, we give a shout out to Inso Ambalao of TrackCams22.com for our cameras, appengineering.in for the development behind the background, and live timing and scoring, as always, brought to you by Nick Thiston. We're going to be heading from here in Iowa, the cornfields of Iowa, to Pocono in 2 weeks' time for the 400-miler, the second round of the Triple Crown, round 8 of the Classic IndyCar Series before we head to the summer break, and it's just going to get even more exciting from there. But from Iowa, from Jack Stiles and from Randy Chenworth, we bid you good night and enjoy the next 2 weeks until we're back at Pocono.